Hey, good evening, everyone. Sorry about the brief delay. As we begin this meeting, I'll ask everyone please silence cell phones and other electronic devices and remind council that our procedure bylaw prescribes the use of technology during council meetings. It is 6:32 p.m. I will call this meeting of Brighton Council to order. We begin every meeting with a territorial land acknowledgement, and we acknowledge tonight that we are gathered on the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Anishinaabe. This land holds deep historical, cultural, and spiritual significance for the Mississauga nations, who have been the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters for countless generations. We recognize and honor the enduring connection that the Mississauga and Anishinaabe, now of Alderville, maintain with this land and these waters. We express our gratitude for their stewardship and resilience throughout history. As we deliberate on matters that shape our community's future, we commit ourselves to fostering reconciliation, respect, and partnership with Indigenous neighbors and all Indigenous peoples. May our work reflect a shared vision of understanding, collaboration, and inclusivity as we strive to build a just and thriving community for all. And I have a motion moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor McCausland, that Council amend the November 17th, 2025 Council agenda to allow item 11.1, notice of motion, to be considered as a motion and voted on at this meeting due to time constraints. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. And a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that Council approve the November 17th, 2025 Council agenda as amended. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. I will note that Councillor Butwell has advised that she may be coming in by Zoom, and we'll see if she's able to do so. Members of council, have you any declarations of pecuniary interest, and if so, please state the general nature thereof. There are none noted. Are there any announcements this evening? Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. It might be on your list regarding Remembrance Day and that. Were you going to bring that up? Then I won't do that. I'll leave that to you. Anyway, just want to remind council and the public of Friday 21. This Friday, we have beginning at 6 p.m. Light Up Brighton with the Christmas parade beginning at 7. Please join us. The DBIA has gone to a lot of work to decorate the park and bring a lot of Christmas cheer to the municipality, and hope to see you all Friday evening.
Thank you for that. Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you, Mayor. On Saturday, I had the pleasure to go up to Hastings Public Library and participate in a visioning session for a sustainable food system in Northumberland. So there were a lot of farmers and people who work alongside agriculture there. There was the Deputy Mayor of Trent Hills there, and the session was run by Russ Christensen, and it was a really positive event where people tried to imagine a more sustainable and functional food system in the county, hosted by the Northumberland Food Policy Council. It's a great time.
Thank you for that. Any other announcements? Councillor Rowley.
Councillor Wheeldon reminded me when we talk food. Just to give a quick explanation as to why the CPKC holiday train will not be stopping in Brighton this year. We will now be sharing train stops from here on in. Coburg needs to have a stop. Coburg also has a need for food and support from the holiday train folks. So from here on in, folks, we will just be hosting the train every other year in Brighton. So we'll see you next year.
Indeed, but the train will go by, as all trains do in Brighton. Are there any other announcements? Last week, as Councillor Rowley noted, was a very busy week of remembrance. We started on Sunday at the Veterans Lunch, and Alderville held its service. I'm not sure if Councillor Wright made it up there. No. Monday, we had the candlelight vigil in the evening, and it was a very cold evening for our cadets to stand vigil. My understanding is that we may have one of the last cadet crews corps rather to hold a candlelight vigil for remembrance. So kudos to those young folks and to some of our firefighters who stepped in for them to hold vigil that evening. And of course, a very moving remembrance service on Tuesday, as it always is. Also like to announce and remind everyone of a public open house on Thursday, November 20th. This is for our secondary planning process. It's for greenfield areas. It takes place in the King Edward Park Arena. So that's on Thursday. And Director Walsh, if you're there, remind us of the time, if you would, please, because I don't have that written down. You're muted. You're muted, Director Walsh.
There we go. Thank you. Yeah, so I have starting at 5, but I think that's a little bit early. That's my prep time as well. So I'd have to check our website to be fully confident giving you a time, I'm afraid. Let me check on that and report back.
We'll wait for that. Thank you. But we're going to assume it's sometime after 5 o'clock and until everyone gets a chance to go through the public open house until we hear otherwise from you, Director Walsh.
Thank you.
Moving on to the adoption of the minutes, I have a motion moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor McCausland, that Council adopt the November 3rd, 2025 Council meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? That motion's carried. We have no statutory public meeting this evening, which brings us to delegations and presentations. Council will hear presentations this evening. Presenters have 15 minutes to provide council with their information, but there's no legal requirement to take 15 minutes, my friends. It is noted that language, content, and conduct must always remain respectful. Council will be provided with an opportunity to ask questions for clarification from the presentation representatives based on the information that they have presented. Council is reminded that this is not an opportunity to engage in debate with the presenters nor advance a public policy position. Presenters are reminded that Council does not make decisions during the presentation portion of this evening's meeting. So the first presentation comes from our Detachment Commander, Inspector Mike Cavanagh, with regard to the OPP's 2026 Action Plan. Welcome, Inspector.
Thank you, Your Worship. I appreciate the opportunity to come here. I didn't realize it was going to be so busy tonight. Although I did want to recognize that the night that the police do show up to present, the fire chief is mysteriously absent. So I'm not. Usually it's a competition, and I'm grateful for that. But he is a good supporter. The reason I'm here is a formal introduction as Detachment Commander of the Northumberland Detachment. I was officially affirmed in the position June 26. I know I've met many of the people in this room already informally, and you've been very gracious, and I enjoy being part of this community and attending different events. Where I began my policing career is the Township of Sterling Rawdon, a municipal service not far from here, and eventually made my way to the OPP. I've held a number of positions, including regular patrol officer, crime unit, organized crime enforcement bureau, where I was seconded in 2014 to the Integrated National Security Enforcement Team, where as part of a surveillance unit that looked after national security risk type people within the province of Ontario, and made my way back to my roots in general policing, where I took different promotions, worked out in East Region, Upper Ottawa Valley, eventually made my way back to Central Region, and here I am in Northumberland County Detachment, and explain how not many people know generally the makeup of the detachment. On the next slide, we have 3 locations. The command structure is that I'm the Detachment Commander. My office is here in Brighton. I have 2 operations managers. They're Staff Sergeants Paul McDonald, he's in the Coburg Administrative Unit, and Staff Sergeant Mike Davidson is in Campbellford. We have 85 uniformed member and 15 civilians. Of that, we have a lot of different specialty units embedded in the detachment itself. We have a crime unit. We have a community street crime unit. We have a court office, a bail support team, community engagement officer, collision reporting center, auxiliary unit, emergency response, data integrity unit, and we're lucky enough to have 2 members of the Golden Helmets at this detachment. So if you see motorcycles, it's our members who are Golden Helmets using that vehicle to respond to calls. So they're great officers, Sergeant Brandon McIIquham and PC Stephen Mann. We're also supported by a number of different units within Central Region. We have a critical incident command, criminal investigative branch, traffic support, dive units, tactics and rescue unit, snowmobile ATV enforcement, mobile command units. We also have a healthy workplace team to support our members as we get through some of these critical incidents. Our fleet, we have 35 police vehicles, not all black and white. Some of our covert cars are included in that. We have 2 ATVs, vessels, and 2 motorcycles used by the helmets. Part of the reason I'm here tonight is that we have, or we're in the process of action planning. What's interesting this year is we have a new Community Safety Policing Act that came into force in 2024. Prior to that, the commissioner was responsible for completing the strategic plan. The CSPA now dictates that the strategic plan for the OPP is done from the Solicitor General. So the Solicitor General makes the strategic plan, and then we base our action planning as part of that. It can't be inconsistent with it. And the priorities within the action plan are crime, roadways, waterways, and trails, and community well-being. We've done some surveys within the community, some consultations, some town halls, but part of my introduction to council is that I'm meeting with councils and making myself available for any issues that you want to bring forward, even if it's apart from the action planning, to talk about different issues or have an introduction to different groups that we can be assistants of. So we're looking at crime as one of the main priorities. We're going to increase our effectiveness in dealing with benchmark crimes. Roadways, waterways, and trails, we're going to use data to guide our response to road safety in conjunction with community consultation and complaints from the different communities within Northumberland County. Part of that too is our response to the 401 and how we can mitigate the use of EDRs and its impact on services within the municipalities, because through your representative on the detachment board, your worship, that has been brought forward as a main concern for a number of different municipalities that border the 401. As far as community safety well-being, we're working towards investing in mental health supports and engaging and improving our response in the community and to help those in need, along with looking for opportunities to engage with youth. I think that is essential as part of policing to build those relationships and engage with that demographic. I know you have a big agenda. You have a big crowd here tonight, so I'm not going to take up more of your time, but I'm happy to answer any questions before I move on.
And none of them are hostile. They're all here to ask for money. So it's a good crowd, actually. It's a good crowd. Thank you, Inspector Cavanagh. Appreciate your time and bringing it forward, the action plan, and providing us with this opportunity of introduction. Members of council, questions of clarification for the detachment commander? Councilor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. Congratulations are in order as well, and we'll move on.
Thank you.
As far as you say you have 85 officers in Northumberland, is there a breakdown as to how many per detachment or how many per community, or just wondering? I know there are population differences, obviously, between Cobourg, Campbellford, and Brighton. Is there a breakdown on how each are assigned?
So the assignments for each of the full-time positions are determined from headquarters, and they're assigned to each of the detachments. Operationally, we ensure that each of the municipalities has coverage every day, every night in each of those zones. We have 6 different zones, and we ensure that each of the zones are covered, regardless of where the officer starts from.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you, Inspector. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I have a motion moved by Councilor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that council receive the presentation from the Detachment Commander, Inspector Mike Cavanagh, OPP, regarding 2026 action plan. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, this brings us to our grants and aid presentation. So we have several of these, and we will begin with Bill Swartman, caretaker, Greenwood Cemetery. Mr. Swartman.
Evening, Mayor, Council. I'm just trying to keep the everything in order at Greenwood Cemetery, and as everybody knows, everything's going up in price. Grass cutting this year wasn't as bad, but it's probably going to be another one next year. And as far as we got the grass cutting, fertilizing, more tree cutting, on account of the ice storm last year, we're just catching up now. And the vault's got to have touched up, and the main entrance coming into Greenwood Cemetery is starting to deteriorate pretty well. So we'd like to get some work done on that. Gravel in the driveway, and just your typical maintenance all the time. Our flower beds. Basically, this is what we needed to go, and it's just everything you go to buy is going up. So this is why we're asking for more.
Thank you, Mr. Swartman. Questions from members of council for clarification? Thank you, sir. Oh, go ahead, Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. Do you find it a struggle to get volunteers?
We can't get volunteers. Not any.
That's right. So it's just your board that looks
Just,
after what?
and there's only two of us that do anything really to speak of.
Yeah.
You just like pulling teeth, you just can't get anybody. A lot of the people that are on are retired, but they've got part-time jobs, and weekends are tied up. And like we have a lot of funerals on the weekends, and
Right.
you just can't get anybody. So it's just myself and another young
Right.
person.
Yes, that's kind of a common concern that I hear lately from some of the other cemetery boards as well.
Oh, yeah.
It's I'm just wondering at some point, and maybe this isn't the place to ask it, but we are going to talk budget things.
Anyway, aren't you?
What's that?
But you're gonna anyway.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna, but anyway, thank you. Is there at some point that maybe because, we look after Mount Hope and, you tally up the dollars here, it's just under 30,000. Is there some point that we might need to kind of look at bringing some of these cemeteries more under the municipal umbrella to keep them up? I'm just asking.
And that would be exactly what would happen if the existing volunteers abandoned their cemeteries. So, which is why we offer money to the volunteers, because it is a more efficient and better use of our dollars to provide money to the Swartmans in order to, and their board, to maintain Greenwood than it would be for the municipality. But I can see a time when the municipality may end up taking over more of these cemeteries. We don't relish that opportunity.
Thank
So
you.
carry on your good work, please. Any other questions for Mr. Swartman before he sits down? Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
thank you, Council.
Motion is moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wright. The council received the presentation from Bill Swartman, caretaker, Greenwood Cemetery. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. I probably should have said before Mr. Swartman got up here that there are a couple of things we are considering for future budgets, and one is to remove the cemeteries from the grants and aid process. It seems counterintuitive that we have a group of people who have to come and ask for money year over year, when we would not relish the want to take over those cemeteries. So probably we're going to get those moved into another line item of Parks and Rec or Public Works for the grant purposes moving forward, rather than asking these people, as well as to cut grass and do all those things, to then fill out forms and come to council once a year to ask for money that we know we're going to give them within reason in order to maintain those volunteer purposes. Councillor Rowley.
Thank you. And I get that. And like I said, who's going to maintain a cemetery for under $10,000? It is, sure. And as you say, it's hard enough to get them to do that, that coming here asking for just those few bucks seems, as you say, counterintuitive.
Thank you for that. I also point out, while everyone's listening, that we have about $30,000 more in requests to grants and aid than we have available in the budget for grants and aid. So are going to have to be some decisions made, and might be some creative decisions, but I think there's going to be some other decisions that need to be made as well. So I think it's important that we hear what these folks have to say as they ask for their grant and aid information. Our next guest is Rachelle Baldock, Executive Director, Children's Safety Village, Belleville. Rachelle, did I say your last name correctly?
Yeah, it's Baldock.
Perfect.
Sorry, can I just ask for the PowerPoint? Do I just say next slide?
Yeah, I think so.
Perfect, thanks. Okay, so good evening, councillors, mayor. My name is Rachelle Baldock, and I'm the executive director at the Children's Safety Village in Belleville. We deliver hands-on, interactive, life-saving learning that reduces preventable injuries, builds confidence, and strengthens community safety. We are located in Belleville, but serve Cobourg to Kingston. We were established in 2004 and have been preventing injury and casualty for over 20 years now. We empower children ages 4 to 12 through hands-on safety education designed to prevent injury and reduce childhood casualties. At the Children's Safety Village, learning comes to life in a miniature city or village where kids explore real-world safety skills, as you can see in the photo. Our mission is simple: prevent injury, empower children, and save lives. Proudly serving Cobourg to Kingston in partnership with local first responders, schools, and dedicated volunteers. We cater to community needs and serve an average of 2,000 to 3,000 children per year. Programs we offer include street safety, which is led by Belleville Police, bike safety, which is led by MTO, home safety, which is led by Safe Start, electrical, which is led by Alexicon, rail safety, which is incorporated into a variety of our programs, and internet safety, which is led by St. Leonard's in Belleville. In 2026, we are introducing Driving Under the Influence, which is partnered with Belleville Police and Ministry of Transportation. Driving Under the Influence was only made possible by the Brighton Community Policing. They have lent us their driving simulator for the success of this program. And it's only through partnerships such as Belleville Community Policing that that allow our programs to thrive. We try to cater our programs to community needs. And in 2025, we noted that water safety was a vital family need. And in 2026, we're partnering with Quinte Conservation to allow water safety to be established in early 2026. We're thinking March. So CSV programs offer direct, measurable benefits to municipalities like Brighton. One, injury prevention saves lives. Municipal fire, police, and EMS services see fewer preventable calls when children understand risks and know how to respond safely. CSV strengthens local emergency preparedness and complements municipal public safety initiatives. Two, equitable access to safety education. CSV programs is completely free, ensuring all children, including those from rural and underserved families, receive essential safety training. Three, it supports local schools and families. Dozens of classes from Brighton attend annually. CSV provides programs that schools rely on but can't deliver in-house. Four, it builds lifelong safety habits. Children leave Children's Safety Village with skills that translate into safer homes, safer streets, and safer communities. And it's a regional hub that Brighton relies on. CSV is the only center of its kind in our region. The other one is in Durham. Municipal support ensures Brighton families continue to have access for decades to come. So we as a community hub have few events such as Christmas in the Village, Kids Got Talent, and Halloween in the Village. These are staple events that hundreds. So in Halloween, there was about 400 families that came through those doors. We are also been participating in a variety of community events such as Apple Fest for the past 5 years, I believe. The Children's Safety Village is preparing for a major relocation. Due to the growing demand of our programs, the need for full accessibility, and the limitations for our current space, we have a unique opportunity to move to Hillcrest Park. This location allows us to expand our programs, increase accessibility for children of all abilities, and build a modern, inclusive future village that we can serve twice as many students each year. This move ensures long-term sustainability and strengthens our ability to deliver high-quality safety education to children across the region, including Brighton. To begin, we are asking for busing, transportation to bus Brighton students to the Children's Safety Village. Why, you ask? Well, one, it ensures accessible access for Brighton children. Many Brighton families, especially in rural areas, face transportation barriers. A dedicated busing fund guarantees that every child, regardless of income or location, can access free safety education. Two, it increases safety outcomes for local children. Brighton students receive hands-on training in fire safety, road, bike, cyber safety, and emergency preparedness, reducing preventable injuries and improving long-term community safety. Also, by removing the transportation barrier, Brighton becomes a leader in supporting youth safety, encouraging that local schools, home school groups, and community organizations can participate. In regards to the capital campaign, we need to be out of our current location and established and operational in June 2028 at Hillcrest Park. So I'm asking for this capital campaign fund for a variety of reasons. One, Brighton families and schools are major beneficiaries for our CSV expansion. The new Children's Safety Village will be more accessible, larger, and able to serve double the number of children annually, including hundreds from Brighton, sorry. Two, it supports a regional hub Brighton residents rely on. Brighton does not have a comparable safety education center. CSV is the regional provider for emergency preparedness, fire safety, pedestrian training, and youth empowerment. Municipal investment secures long-term access for Brighton families. Three, it demonstrates municipal leadership in child safety and resilience. Municipalities that invest in prevention see lower emergency response costs over time. Supporting CSV signals Brighton's commitment to community risk reduction along with fire and EMS mandates and directly benefits the municipality's own emergency services. Lastly, for the operational support for programming, one, it supports free life-saving programs for Brighton families. Two, its immediate impact on Brighton's youth and vulnerable families. With operational support, Children's Safety Village can increase Brighton booking availability. Two, expand inclusive programs, which is sensory-friendly, accessible equipment, and adaptive bikes. It can support rural and low-income families, and it can provide safety equipment such as helmets, reflectors. Lastly, it builds a stronger, more resilient Brighton. Prevention programming reduces costs related to accidents, fire calls, emergency responses, and youth injuries. Again, thank you for the consideration and opportunity to present.
Thank you, Executive Director. Questions of clarification? Councillor Wheeldon?
Thank you, Mayor. You mentioned that classes from Brighton go to CSV. I would have guessed that they use school buses for that. And so where would people be picked up in a busing program? What groups would be using a bus, or would there be like, would a bus come out for a single family? What's your vision for the busing program?
So for our programs at CSV, it's a group. So a group of 20 or more kids. It could be homeschool, it could be Girl Guides, it could be Scouts, but it has to be a group of people. And we facilitate busing. So if a homeschool group, it would come to one destination and then drop them off at CSV and then drop them off again at that same location. For a classroom, it's like the school. Sorry if that's me. It's like the school, so it goes right into the school and then goes back.
Thank you both. Any other questions? I note that you note that you serve from Coburg to Kingston. Do you receive funding from other municipalities in that corridor? Will you be asking for funding from municipalities in those corridors? And can you be specific, please?
So we have not received counseling. We will be asking for funding this year and for a capital campaign.
Will you be asking all of the communities between Cobourg and Kingston?
We will try to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from members of council? Councilor Wright?
Will the financial ask to each of the other municipalities be kind of prorated in terms of population?
Yes and no. It will deem on, so say Sterling, we asked for that, and that was more for events. So that ask was not deemed on population, but about their grant asks, because each municipality has different grant areas. So we will try, but different. We will try. But it's just hard when each municipality has different parameters. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? Councilor Rowley?
Thank you, Mayor. Just it's kind of not top of mind right now, but I know that for many years, as you say, you were here for Apple Fest.
Mhm.
Do you charge a fee for that? Do you know? Oh, that's all
For
free.
free.
Yeah. So for a few years, we've already benefited
Mhm.
at no cost. Thank you.
Correct.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Mm.
I have a motion moved by Councilor McCausland, seconded by Councilor Wheeldon, that council receive the presentation from Rachelle Baldock, Executive Director, Children's Safety Village, Belleville. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That motion's carried. Next presenter is Abby McIlwham, University Hospitals Kingston Foundation. Welcome back.
Good evening. It's good to be back. I'm really pleased to be here this evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Abby McIIquham, and I'm Associate Director of Healthcare Advancement at University Hospitals Kingston Foundation. I'm here to provide an update on the important healthcare services that are available at your Kingston Hospital and also bring a specific request forward with your grant and aid program. Next slide. Since the merger between KGH and Hotel Dieu Hospitals in 2017, the role of our hospital has grown significantly, which today provides ambulatory and acute care to over 650,000 residents. For communities like Brighton, this means that even advanced specialized healthcare is available within a reasonable distance, avoiding travel to larger cities some of the time. This level of care is essential, especially as our region's population grows and ages, and the demand on healthcare has never been greater. Because of this level of care, KHSC is the regional referral center for tertiary care, supporting smaller hospitals in the area by ensuring that people throughout the region can receive timely and comprehensive care when they need it most. Next slide. Over the past year, Brighton has played a meaningful role in strengthening care for patients who rely on Kingston Health Sciences Centre. Your 2025 grant has helped advance a major upgrade to our second interventional radiology suite, an essential space where patients receive minimally invasive procedures that often replace the need for surgery. Work on this suite begins in January and will run through March, following the successful completion of the first upgraded suite earlier this year. This is a $2.7 million investment in diagnostic treatment and capacity that serves communities across the region, including Brighton. I also want to acknowledge the thoughtful way your community chose to honor the late Brian Fredis. His name now appears on the KGH Memorial Wall, where it stands alongside others whose lives have shaped our hospital's history. His memory is tied to a project that will strengthen care for years to come, and our team is deeply grateful. Next slide. Running a hospital today is much more expensive than it used to be. Advances in healthcare mean that patients are living longer, which is wonderful, but it also means they often need more complex care over longer periods of time. For example, older patients might need joint replacements, heart surgeries, treatments for chronic conditions like diabetes or cancer, procedures that weren't as common or advanced a few decades ago. The cost of medical technology has also increased. Hospitals now rely on cutting-edge equipment like a surgical robot and advanced diagnostic imaging, which come with huge price tags. These technologies improve patient care and outcomes, but they're extremely expensive to purchase and maintain. This is where philanthropy becomes critical. as government funding doesn't cover new equipment or facility upgrades. Donations help us acquire critical tools, big and small, like MRIs or NICU monitors, directly improving patient care and keeping pace with modern healthcare needs. Next slide. In Ontario, a health sciences centre is more than a hospital. It's a hub for advanced care, medical education, research, and specialized clinical services. At KHSC, this integrated approach allows us to deliver life-saving, specialized care for patients facing the most serious and complex medical conditions. This means we're able to provide advanced treatment for stroke, trauma, cardiac emergencies, and organ transplants. We also offer the highest level of critical care for infants and children through our Level 3 pediatric ICU. In addition, KHSC is home to the Cancer Centre of Southeastern Ontario, providing essential cancer treatments close to home. We are also leaders in minimally invasive surgery, state-of-the-art diagnostic imaging, and interventional radiology, ensuring patients receive specialized, high-quality care. Next slide. As the region's academic hospital, KHSC serves a catchment, a very large one, that includes Leeds and Grenville, Frontenac County, Hastings, Lennox and Addington, the Quinte region, as well as Lanark County. KHSC may be in Kingston, but it serves as a lifeline for families across southeastern Ontario. Half of the people we care for are from communities outside of the city who rely on our hospital for specialized care, not offered at their local community hospital. This demand reflects the need for accessible health care to a growing and geographically dispersed population. Next slide. As we look specifically at how residents of Brighton use the hospital services in Kingston, we see that over 1,700 residents made a healthcare visit last year, and they came to the hospital for a variety of reasons. There were over 100 visits each to emergency as well as inpatient care. 189 residents required a surgical procedure in Kingston, while the Cancer Centre saw over 1,300 visits last year. However, it's quite clear the number one reason that your residents come to Kingston is for outpatient services, with over 3,500 visits last year. This represents visits for ophthalmology, cardiology, endocrinology, pediatrics, among many others. These numbers are not huge in volume, but they are still noteworthy for a smaller community like Brighton, and demonstrates that whether for emergency care, surgery, or life-saving cancer treatment, KHSC plays a vital role in the health and well-being of Brighton residents. Next slide. Regarding the request being made today, I'd like to share how digital pathology represents an important shift in how diagnoses are made across our region. Today, when a tissue sample is taken at a hospital outside of KHSC, the slide itself must be packaged, shipped, and physically couriered to Kingston. That creates gaps in time and can delay care. Moving pathology to a digital system brings us to a new era. Instead of sending the slide itself, the Trenton and Belleville hospitals will be able to scan the sample on site and share it digitally with our pathology team. The image quality is extraordinary, so precise that our pathologists can examine every detail as if the slide was sitting right there in front of them. It means patients aren't waiting for a courier or facing travel just to secure a diagnosis. To make this possible, we are preparing to acquire a slide scanner along with the necessary cloud-based slide storage system. This equipment produces high-resolution digital images and keeps them stored securely so they can be reviewed, shared, and compared over time. There are also infrastructure pieces that support safe and reliable digital diagnosis, such as climate-controlled space for the equipment, high-resolution monitors, workstations for the pathologists. For communities like Brighton, this shift is especially meaningful. It brings the expertise of Kingston's pathology team directly to residents across the region, giving everyone the same access to timely, specialized diagnostics, regardless of where they received the care. Digital pathology strengthens the entire network of hospitals that we depend on, and it ensures that patients across our region benefit from the same level of precision and attention. Next slide. For residents in Brighton and across our smaller communities, digital pathology brings real gains in both health and peace of mind. By removing the need to physically move slides between sites, results come back much sooner, often in days rather than weeks. That shorter wait time helps people begin treatment earlier and reduces the strain that comes with uncertainty. It also gives local patients direct access to the expertise of KHSC's pathology team. Even when a biopsy is collected at a community hospital, the diagnostic work is carried out by specialists who see a wide range of complex cases every day and have the experience to initiate the care plan that follows. Most importantly, digital pathology levels the playing field. Whether someone lives in Kingston or Brighton, they receive the same timely, specialized diagnosis without having to travel. It strengthens care across the region and ensures that geography does not influence health outcomes. Next slide. As Council considers important investments in regional healthcare, we are asking you to look toward 2026 with a contribution of $20,000 to support the launch of digital pathology at Kingston Health Sciences Centre. This investment will support access to specialized medical expertise without requiring people to leave their community. The full cost to implement this program is close to $2 million, yet we are already more than halfway there thanks to generous commitments from others. With procurement planning underway, your support at this stage will help move this project closer to the finish line. That's the end of my presentation. You can go to the next slide. I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to present this evening. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those now.
Thank you, Ms. McIlquham. Questions from members of council? Council Rowley.
Thank you. Not on your presentation, Abigail, but was our commitment last year 20,000 as well?
It was 15.
15,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Motion is moved by Council Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that council receive the presentation from Abby McIlquham University Hospital's Kingston Foundation. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. Our next presentation comes from Len Kuipers, Executive Director, Brighton Marine Rescue. Mr. Kuipers.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for this opportunity to talk about marine rescue emergency services in Brighton. Yeah, thanks for the PowerPoint opportunity. So we'll just start out with the slide presentation, and I'll wrap up with a couple of comments. We train along, or we work along with Brighton Fire Department. We had some exceptional training with them this year, and we find we can learn a lot from the way they respond to calls and their processes, their commitment to doing things better, and with that relationship, we're better equipped to respond to emergencies that would require their services on our boat and vice versa. And the next slide, please. So last year, thanks to your generous grant that was given to us, we were able to purchase the trailer that we were hoping to buy. This allowed us to put a boat in the water earlier in the year, and also, well, it went in earlier in the year, but we were able to keep it in the water later this year. And we could just move to the next slide, please. And so you'll see on October 28th of this year, you'll see the little video flashing. We were called out to Point Petrie, where there was this boat that was disabled, and we've came to the conclusion now that the weakest link on the water is people. And they never cease to surprise you, the decisions that are made and what puts them in those predicaments, and we really do scratch our heads sometimes. And so in this particular case, this vessel had ran out of fuel. They thought they could get around Prince Edward County, that it was just this little bump on a map. And anyways, so a northeast wind put them into the shipping channels, and we were able to get to them long before the Coast Guard got there and any other emergency services. But once we got there, Jeff's our deputy leader. I should have introduced, but Jeff was on nav, and he picked up that we had a 700-foot shipping vessel moving directly at us. So we were able to contact the Coast Guard and divert the ship around. And so I just
wanted to say the key thing about this presentation and this slide is it was your contribution last year that helped us get this trailer, and it directly contributed to that rescue. We would not have been in the water at this time of the year if we had not been able to buy the trailer. That was on October 28th and 29th. Usually we come out on Thanksgiving Day. This year we pulled the trailer out, I think it was on November 4th. So we're looking to, again, extend our shoulder seasons. This is when the tougher rescues happen. There's fewer boats on the water. The need is greater. And we just wanted to make sure you understood that last year you helped us and we really appreciate it. This is showing you where your money went. And it was a big deal. So thank you. Thank you very much. The
Yes,
next slide.
it could have easily been where this boat would have been directly in the shipping lane and large waves, and who knows what could have happened. So yeah, it could have very well saved a life right there. So we've noticed some gaps in our equipment that we have that can be improved, and at the top of our list is our communication system. So we're wearing a headset system when we're out responding to calls. The system that we have is proven to be unreliable. At times, there's sometimes a 4 to 6 second delay. So in critical situations, like in this particular rescue, we had people on the front of the boat, and we're trying to talk back and forth, and that 4 to 6 second gap is just too long.
We were actually considering a jump to the other boat. And in those conditions, and in that case, we couldn't. It was just way too risky. But that delay in communications from a go, don't go would have been a huge safety issue. So the communications, any kind of a problem with communications on the boat, it's a critical issue. And it's one of our greatest needs is to address that. Each year we work towards continuous improvement, trying to make things better, safer, so that we can do a better job out there. This was the next thing on the list.
So our request is for approximately half of the cost of the communication system. We have good business support in our community. We've contacted other people. We've asked for funding. So we're asking for this to meet half of what we're trying to do. We feel confident that we're going to have enough support with our local businesses and local community that we're happy to do that. But we would appreciate your consideration with this request. Next slide. So this is a little more of an illustration of the communication system. Jeff would love to talk to you for another half
We
an
really
hour
don't need to
about
go
that.
into it, but our clock is running and we want to meet our time limit, but
Jeff's
it would
our
just be in
IT
there.
expert, so he loves to talk about this stuff.
If somebody wants to look at the slide later and ask questions, we're happy to answer them, but we'll keep rolling for now.
Yeah, next slide, please.
And also on our list, as I said, we're focused on continuous improvement. Safety of the crew is our number one concern. Safety of the boat is number two. So we're looking to, down the road, we want to get exposure suits, good exposure suits for the crew and so on and so forth. So though we're really focused, the needs are so great that we have to year by year look at what the priorities are and focus on that. The biggest priority, that's our communication system, but just wanted to make you aware there are other needs that eventually we're going to have to address. And that's it.
So yeah, thank you. But I think whenever I get the opportunity to speak here, I just think that first I want to commend you for your secondary plan and when being willing to look at arenas and improving our community the way it is. And in Brighton, I still feel we have the most underutilized waterfront around. I know we're a little biased being marine guys, but I really believe that we're sitting on a gold mine here, and you're going to have an opportunity to develop that at some point, and bring a lot more people to live in this community and to enjoy this community. We believe what we're doing with Brighton Marine is given the perception and the reality that Brighton is a safe place to enter the waters. We're out there because we care for you, because and we're going right to the American border. We're going to Coburg, we're going to Trenton. And so the message is pretty clear. About 3,500 boaters go through our waters every year. And they know we're out there. They hear us on the radio, they see our Facebook post or whatever it is, but we're there. That's the perception. And it's because of your support that we're able to do that.
So thank you.
That's
Thank you, gentlemen. Questions of clarification from members of council? Council Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I saw the Facebook video as well. It looked pretty, I'm glad I wasn't on either boat. Your Coast Guard auxiliary, do you get financial support from the Coast Guard as well?
We get a minimal financial support from them, only in fuel reimbursement. So if we're out on a tasking, if they call us to go out, or if we're on a training, for example, they have an amount that they pay us per hour for fuel. So it goes towards fuel. If we exhaust our annual limit, then we end up paying for our own fuel for training and so on. So it's not a large thing. The vast majority of the funds that we need to operate and to improve all come from donations.
And we're 100% volunteers. Nobody receives anything and anything. So even the management of the Coast Guard Auxiliary, there's only
On a national level.
On a national level, there's just a handful of staff that is even paid. So yeah, a lot of volunteers involved. We're actively looking for members if anybody's looking for something to do. But
okay, we didn't show you the video, but we are looking for
we're not trying to compete with the graveyard, but
Yes, let's not go there. All right, thank you very much. Anyone else? Thanks, gents.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
A motion moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that council receive the presentation from McIIquham's Executive Director, Brighton Marine Rescue. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That motion's carried. Next presenter is Tom Ritwidge, Save Our Heritage Organization. Mr. Ritwidge.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. I don't have a presentation. I will freely admit that I was called here this evening by a higher power and wasn't expecting to be here myself. But when my mother tells me that I have to come and do something, I generally listen. She's not feeling well. She's under the weather. So I'm going to try and step in and do her some justice in terms of what SOHO is seeking from our community partner. Save Our Heritage Organization has been an organization since 1974. Our building, Proctor House Museum, is probably the second most recognizable symbol for the municipality of Brighton, next to the lighthouse. In 1974, the building was saved by the citizens of Brighton through volunteerism and turned into a museum. We consider ourselves the gatekeepers of Brighton's history. We've been doing history long before our other community partners. We like to think that the history that we like to teach the kids who come in from the schools and the volunteers and the people who come in for tours is accurate, because we've been gathering data from citizens since 1974 who were born before the 1900s. We didn't have the ability to have smartphones back then and videotape people while they're telling us about the history. And we're glad that our partners at the Brighton Digital Archive were able to do that. In 2002, when I became a director at SOHO, I was 31 years old and I was the youngest member of the board. Today I am 54 and I am still the youngest member of the board. So we face the same challenges that other community organizations do. But what we offer to the municipality is we are the only private functioning museum in Northumberland County that I'm aware of. We are 100% nonprofit. In 2002, we opened up our theater. The day the theater opened, it was paid for. We have had probably anywhere from 40,000 people go through our doors to see plays between 2002 and today. And you may say to yourself, well, if you're having 40,000 people come to your plays, why are you here asking us for money? Well, the fact of the matter is that to put those plays on is expensive, and most of it goes to publishing and paying royalties. So we believe that we serve a great purpose to the community. We are inclusive. We accept everybody, anybody who wants to come up and be part of arts and culture, who want to be there to help safeguard our history. We want folks to come and we want them to enjoy themselves. We want them to have a good time. But one of the things that we find is, even though our overhead is minimal, and for those who aren't aware, we have a partnership with Lower Trent Conservation Area. They actually own the land and the building, but we've leased it for 99 years. And part of that lease is we are responsible for the upkeep. And it's the upkeep And it's the rising insurance costs that really hamper our ability to pay some of those bills. I'll be honest with you, could we pay some of those bills? We probably could, but we wouldn't be able to do a lot of the other things that we would need to do. We've got some money put away in our reserves for if furnaces go out and other things, but it's this partnership that we have with the municipality we think is important. I'm pretty sure that if I were to gauge the mood in the room, I don't think the municipality certainly wants to have a museum on its hands and doesn't want to lose the ability to have something like this, where we have volunteers who come in and give of their own time. It's a wonderful place to be. It's one of my favorite places in the world to be, Proctor House Museum. It scares the hell out of me every time I walk in there because I believe it's haunted, and I think most people in town do. And it's a welcoming place. And we are your partner and you are our partner, and we love our relationship that we have with the municipality of Brighton. And it is our goal, my goal moving forward, to bring some youth meaning somebody in their 50s or 40s, to come into the fold. But those are things that we're going to work on as we go down the road. We also need to modernize things. We still have a ticket booth where people sit and take your money. And so we're working on a lot of things, trying to jump into the 21st century. But it's hard. It's hard when you get people around for 25 years who do it the way they want to do it. And I'm really in no position to tell my mother she's wrong. So we are grateful for what we have received from this community in terms of funding. We understand what stewardship is all about, and the public purse is important. And when people provide funds to Proctor House Museum and to Soho, we want you to know that we're spending it responsibly. And I will tell you, it is $5 to tour the facility. We don't turn anybody away. So if a family shows up and, they can't afford to pay $5 for everybody, we don't turn people away. We want them to come in, we want them to learn, we want them to have a good time. And that is all possible because of the citizens of Brighton who not only support us physically, but who also support us economically and financially through the decision making that you guys are going to make moving forward. So that's all I have. But I do want to say I have a date with Councillor Rowley on Friday night. I hope she hasn't forgotten. So if there's any question, I'm more than happy to try to answer them. I'm not an expert in everything, but I can give it a go.
We'll endeavor to be gentle. Thank you, Mr. Witt. Well wishes to your mother.
Thank you.
Thank you. Interesting that we have a both haunted and welcoming museum in the municipality. I actually think that's great. You should market that.
It's, the ghosts have their arms wide open.
There you go. My recollection, Mr. Ritwidge, is that the monies donated to Soho from the municipality essentially cover your insurance.
Correct.
And they don't go much further than that.
$18,000 is our upcoming bill for this year.
So they don't even cover your insurance.
It doesn't.
The amount that you're asking.
No. We understand that we understand about sweat equity, and we know we have to do our part. And as I said, we're very happy to get anything. So we're very appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Questions from members of council? Councillor McCausland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. This might be a silly question, but what are your operational hours?
Well, that's a good question. So we're open from July 1st to August 31st, and we operate in the afternoons from 1 till 4. I would love to tell you that we would like to do more, but it also depends on volunteers. We have been successful the last number of years in getting a grant from the federal government for student summer jobs. But one of the problems that we also have at Proctor House is it's hot in the summertime, and we have no air conditioning, and it's advised to us that we don't because of the expensive artifacts that are in the house. So climate control is a real sticky thing for us. So we're going to start looking in the mornings, opening from 10:30 till 1 as opposed to 1 till 4. Again, it's going to be a tough nut to crack. Emily sat around that table with me. So these are things that we're going to try and convince somebody around the table is their idea. And we'll try and make that work. So
I wish you luck with that.
yeah, I hear you.
Any other questions from members of council?
And by the way, we are accepting volunteers. And chances are you're not going to throw it up like you might on a
exactly. Councillor Rowley.
And just a comment, not a question, because yes, I now sit around the table with your board, and yes, I don't know how much I don't want to be 80 years old and sit around and put in sweat equity into that thing. But there's a really simple way for even a little bit more community support, and that would be if folks would just buy a $10 membership.
Mm-hmm.
a membership drive is something that is difficult as well, and it's difficult to kind of bring those things to the forefront. So I'm just going to challenge not only those sitting around this table, but those sitting in the audience today, and maybe we can just spread a little bit more of that word. A $10 membership for anything is cheap today. In fact, I would like to suggest to the group that they crank that price a little bit, but let's start with $10.
Emily, yeah, yeah. It can be difficult.
Thank you for that. And of course, you have a QR code that will take us right to the website to buy the
$10
membership.
right now? No, you can give it to me Friday. Yeah,
Anyone else? Thanks, Tom.
great. Thank you very much.
I have a motion moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor McCausland, that council receive the presentation from Tom Retwidge, Save Our Heritage Organization. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. The next presenter is Charles Acker. I've never seen it written like that, Chuck. Charles Acker, Beacon Youth Center. Mr. Acker.
Before we get going, I want to thank the councils from Brighton. This will be our 20th anniversary coming, and you've supported us for 20 years. And without that, we wouldn't be here today either. The submission I didn't do it electronically, thank goodness. You have one page in there with attendance numbers. When I did this up, it was in August, and I just wanted to give you the new numbers as of the 31st of October. The lunch hour visits are 4,459 this year. It's pretty much on track with what it was last year. We're only a few more extra this year. It's with the support of the community, local businesses, the local churches, the town, that we're able to keep our doors open because we are not funded by any organization as well. Other than that, that's the only change that I sent in. And we have any questions? Rennie Schmidt is a longtime volunteer with me, and we hope to answer your questions if you have any.
Thank you very much. You have a silent auction coming up, as I understand.
This Friday night at 6 o'clock till 9:30 at the community center. And thanks to the town of Brighton, they're not charging us rent to do this. So there's a start for us right there. We've had people working on this for over a month now, gathering all new items from the local businesses in Brighton and Trenton. And we have some wonderful items up for auction. And I believe as of the other day, there were 80 items for sale.
Very nice.
And we will provide coffee and treats and that, thanks to a donation from another person that did that for us.
So if people need to warm up after the Santa Claus parade, that would be the place to go.
Come in, put a bid in, go to the parade, come back, have a hot coffee or a hot drink and see how you did.
Questions from members of council? Councillor Rowley.
I guess this is where, we just got this package today as far as to be able to kind of review the grants and aid and things. I mean, some of these we've had, right, for sure. But I know last year we kind of had, could see what we did last year. Did we provide you with the same grant dollar amount last year?
Yes.
Okay.
I put it the same as last year. I know times are tough for everybody.
Right.
And we said, we can get that. We can make it work.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Charles.
Okay.
Acker.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you both. Any other questions from members of council?
Can I just make one comment?
Of course, Renee.
It's something common we often think about as and being larger places, whatever, where crowded areas of big cities where the kids are neglected. But there's always an element of need, even in a small town like Brighton. There are kids that really do not have good parenting. and do not get, sometimes, they don't get a good meal. We provide a hot meal every day that the kids come from ENSS for lunch. There's no charge for this. We accept everybody. We accept, as long as they're respectful of the place themselves and each other, they're welcome to be there. And our numbers, daily numbers are from 35 up to 45 on a sunny day. They'll come. On a rainy day, they still come. And we offer free clothing if they're short of something. We have a lot of people sourcing us different things, hygiene stuff, toothbrushes, soap, all that kind of stuff. There's still a lot of poverty in Brighton, and we see it as a retired teacher. I just know that there's a lot that you do not see normally, but we at the Beacon are able to address some of those needs. And we have good connections with the schools as well. They trust us and they respect us. And they, in fact, are in good communication with us and our director, Dahlia. So I just thought I'd mention that.
Thank you for that. I was at the high school last week talking about connecting them with other mental health resources, mental health and addiction resources. So we're working our way through that. But they were certainly singing the Beacon's praise.
Thank you. Thanks for passing that on.
Go ahead, Councillor Rowley.
Oops, sorry. So one question, do you have, only because I sit on a food bank board and you bring up those kind of insecurities, do you have connection with the Food for All warehouse in Coburg?
Yes, we do.
Okay,
We make an appointment and go, whatever we need, they help us.
okay. I just wanted to make sure that you had that connection. Okay, thank
And
you.
even we have some of the counselors help us with food too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Acker, Mr. Schmidt, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that council receive the presentation from Charles Acker, Beacon Youth Centre. Any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. Our next presenter is Claire Camacho. Claire, am I saying your name right?
It's actually Melinda.
So I'm not saying your name right at all. McIIquham. All right, we'll make that change.
That's okay.
Big brothers, big sisters of South Durham and Northumberland.
Yes,
Ms. McIIquham, you have the floor.
thank you so much. Thank you for longer than 4.5 minutes too, but it won't be too long, I promise. Big brothers, big sisters, everybody conjures up an image, and generally it's of our community-based mentoring program, which is where a screen-trained volunteer goes, picks up a child at their home, they go out, they do something for a few hours, they go back to their home. That is our core program where we started, but we also have another one-to-one program, which is what we've applied for the funding for Brighton from, which is our in-school mentoring. It is also a one-to-one mentoring program, so it shares that. It does happen in school. We can switch the slide. It happens within the school, and it happens weekly, and it's for an hour. The children are identified by the school staff as children who need social and emotional support in their school day. I'm sure I don't need to stand here and tell you that school staff are stretched to their max. This program helps kids throughout their school day. Yes, they do come out of class for their mentoring time, but their time spent in mentoring is well spent with a caring adult who's working on them with different social supports they can give and emotional supports they can give. We have been in the area and covering Brighton for 50 years. We are celebrating our 50th anniversary this year. This is, I think, our first time ever coming to Brighton to ask for some money. We can switch this slide, please. We're coming this year because we have a pretty historic shortage of volunteers in this area. Last year, we were able to work with 30 kids in Brighton, and this year, we're not in any school in Brighton. Unfortunately, we have no volunteers, so we have actually submitted this funding to provide a paid mentor. We would like to bridge that gap in coverage after so many years. Next slide, please. Mentees spend their time with their mentor, receiving support, receiving support through play, through conversation, through activities, through completion of some schoolwork too, or with older children, they will help them with bit larger projects that maybe they're not going to get support from at home. To echo what the gentleman said before me, I think you all are aware that there are some families who struggle with their economic level and their ability level, so therefore their ability to support their children is reflected the same. Next slide, please. Why mentorship matters. Again, we've been doing this locally for 50 years. We firmly believe in it. We have all sorts of statistics to back us up. But more recently, as we've come to realize the importance of mental health and the importance for children, a lot of mental health problems do begin in childhood. We have so many children missing school for anxiety, for the starts of depression, for all those reasons. Having a mentor who listens to you, when you know Tuesday's your day, that Bill's coming in and you're going to do this, guess who goes to school on Tuesday? That child, because Bill's coming in to say, hey, you're important. It's all about consistency in this program. This program delivers with the consistency and the commitment of the adults who mentor within it. Next slide, please. As I mentioned a minute earlier, this is what our request directly is. Our absolute volunteer shortage here has surprised us, and we'd like to close that gap. Next slide, please. This program does support community well-being by creating safety and connections for youth. We promote inclusion. We reduce the barriers for these vulnerable children because we meet them where they're at. We're at their school. Our mentor is going to their school. The schools welcome us. My wait list for the Brighton area is quite large because I don't have a mentor to give these children. I also have families who call directly or email directly, will my child get a mentor this year? And right now the answer for Brighton is I don't have one. I'm very sorry. Next slide, please. Just so you know, as a longstanding agency, we do measure our success. We do surveys with the children who participate, with the mentors and with the school staff. And without fail, the increase in confidence, the absolute increase in attendance and in engagement that these children have with their schools after having a mentor, the percentages bear out. If you've heard people talk about social return on investment, for mentored youth, 80% of them pursue healthy lifestyles. One of the things I don't think we realize in Canada is we still have 1 in 4 children who don't graduate high school. Mentored children finish high school at 80% at a rate of 80% higher than the general population of youth. 17% are more they're 17% more likely to be employed. Mentored youth are 50% are more likely to grow up and be adults. They are 50% more likely to grow up and be adults who volunteer. So your social return on investment is with Big Brothers is $23 to 1. All those things, when you factor them in, that 80% of them have stronger social relationships. That means they're functioning better within society. Next slide, please. Oh, thank you. Thank you for considering our request. I'm happy, thrilled even to have the opportunity to be here. And I just always want to highlight for children the importance of consistent, caring mentorship for our vulnerable youth. And I think maybe the one slight thing I didn't touch off the top, the age group we work with is generally 5 to 16. If there's a delay of any sort, we go to the child finishes high school age. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McIIquham. I felt like you were on a roll there, so you got to the end and you were surprised too. So good. I'm
Worked there for almost 23 years, so I can talk for hours, but none of you want that.
You had 15 minutes and you didn't take it. Congratulations.
Okay.
How many schools in Brighton are you in? We have 3 public schools and a high school, and I'm just wondering how many. I know you're not in any this year, but how many were you in last year?
2 of the 3.
Thank you. Any thoughts of reaching out to the other 2?
Generally, the in-school mentoring doesn't work great with high school kids. One of the tenets is that you stay on school property.
Okay. It's K to 8. I saw that.
Yeah,
Now that you're
it's K to
saying it.
8, so it would be, Brighton Public, Spring Valley and Smithfield. And I have had practicum students from ENSS, grade 12, very responsible students, actually mentor in the high school, like the much younger, like grade 1 and 2s, where there was enough sufficient supervision.
Good. Thank you. Any other questions? Members of council? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that council receive the presentation from Melinda McIIquham, Big Brothers Big Sisters of South Durham and Northumberland. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That motion's carried. Our next presenter is Corrine McKinnon, Gift from the Heart.
Well, I have good news for you. I forgot my glasses, so this is gonna be shorter than I thought it was gonna be. I'm sure most of you know Gift from the Heart. You know Bev Woods, obviously being in this area. And I'm a newbie. I've been around for 5 months now. I think some of you are the Amazing Race, so I've seen some faces. And it's that time of year to just talk to you about where we're at with Gift from the Heart. So as you know, we're a dental care program that actually does cares for any sort of oral health issue, does extractions, and we're doing root canals and whatnot now to help people who can't afford the gap between the insurance and the co-payment, which most people don't realize. So we are obviously a charity and we're here to help people get the help they need. We're seeing people in the community pull their teeth out with pliers and dying of sepsis in the hospital. And we see it on a regular basis. So since I've started with this process about 5 months ago, we've really changed things around quite a bit to try and sort of self-fund to a certain extent with some of the government programs. But we're still asking for some money right now to bridge the gap while we grow a little bit. So I just skip over to the next slide, please. So I took some stats, the dental care crisis. I basically took it from a Canadian, Ontario-wide and drilled it down because it's really hard to figure out what the stats are in a local area. And the numbers right now, Stats Canada says about 24% of Canadians avoid dentists because of costs. So applied to Brighton's population, that's roughly 3,000 people or so, residents, neighbors who can't afford care. What I can say is we are seeing a large amount of retirees from Brighton coming in to use our services. Things are really challenging, as we all know, for retirees right now. Well, for everybody, with the cost of living. So we're doing what we can to keep up with the demand. The CDCP, everybody thinks that covers things. First of all, it's for people who make under $90,000 a year, but one, they have to file taxes in order to receive that. And it only covers 63% of the cost. So that additional 30, 35, 40% is prohibitive for people to be able to get care at this time. Sorry, I'm trying to read, it's all blurry in front of me, so I apologize. When people don't get dental care, what we have seen is that they go to the hospital. The newest thing we've done is we've actually met with Trenton Memorial, and we are very excited to say we're in partnership with Trenton Memorial for the very first time. We are working to reduce wait times and take the pressure and stress off of the ER staff. So what we're doing right now is they are getting a card that says, here's, a referral from the emergency room. You have a toothache, a problem, an infection, you need an extraction, you're here because, OHIP, trying to get it covered. They refer to us and we take the patient in and give them the work that they need. That's often, what's coming from the hospital right now is probably reducing the ER visits somewhere in the nature of, 2 to 5 or more visits on that single person. So we're very excited about that. I'm actually not a medical professional. I'm actually an ex-investment banker, but I am in ER huddles right now, which is a whole new thing, talking about the group of people that we actually service. So on next slide, please. That's a little bit small, but I'll just talk to you about the residents, the people that we're actually seeing right now. We are serving a large group of people. We are serving people who experience homelessness. It's really hidden in a lot of the areas, but we, oh, thank you. Yeah, I might steal it from you. Appreciate it. I'm 52 and I still think I'm young. And I think the man before me said 50 was young, right?
He did.
Right? I'm definitely
That's
taking.
true in Brighton.
That's awesome. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
54 is young, right, Bobby?
I will take it. People experiencing homelessness often hidden living in cars or couch surfing are trapped by dental barriers. You can't get a job interview or a rental when you're missing your teeth, obviously. You need teeth to work, but you need work to fix your teeth. This is something that we're seeing. It's this endless circle of thank you. This is so great, by the way. The pain pushes people deeper into crisis. Our program helps break that cycle by restoring dignity, opportunity, and stability. We see a lot of cancer survivors. What I can say is there's a lot of crying in our office, good and bad. We are seeing so many people come in surviving breast cancer, particularly. What people don't know is if you do chemo, it ruins your teeth. And it financially, it's costs you everything just to get through that. You survive and then you can't eat or you're in pain. You go to the hospital, they can give you antibiotics, but they can't actually do anything for you and you have no money left. So we are seeing a lot of people coming through for that. We're also seeing an increase in single parents choosing between rent costs, groceries, and treating an infection. So working families who do qualify for CDCP but can't afford the $600 to $900 co-payments for urgent care, and seniors, more than 4,000 in Brighton seniors trying to manage on fixed incomes while facing out-of-pocket costs they simply cannot pay. We are seeing a lot of retirees, like I said, from Brighton coming in who that $700 for an extraction is a big deal. It costs a lot and takes a lot out of the budget. So Trenton Memorial Hospital, as I mentioned, we are very, very excited. They're excited to work with us. Again, I have no idea what I'm doing in these ER huddles other than saying, hey, you know what, these are the homeless people we deal with, and try to bring some sort of humanity back to the conversation. Retirees, we're finding that ER staff get very frustrated. They can't help the person. They come back over and over and over to get an infection treated, but they can't afford the treatment at the dentist. So we are going to start getting data to get that information from them to see how much we alleviate this process in the next year. But in order to do that, we need to, oh, sorry, next slide. I'm looking through my slides. I apologize. We are asking for $19,000. Most of this is equipment for about $10,000. It's surgical equipment. What Bev had been doing prior to this was doing her best to raise money, do a sort of a free day of dental when she could. So we are now moving from that free day to 2 days a week, every week, where they get hygiene and full dental services. It's not enough, 2 days a week. We're seeing about 100 people a month right now. It's not nearly enough, but it's a start. And we're finding that we need the surgical equipment to be able to keep up with some of that demand. So primarily, we're looking for the surgical equipment, which lasts about 10 years. So we don't plan on coming back and asking for more and more and more every year. We're hoping that the CDCP can help fund our new model to a very big extent, depending on the amount of people that we see come through from Trenton Memorial. And yeah, we're just looking for help with rent. So our rent is very low. We've got a really good deal on it. We have 2 chairs that are really busy all the time, and we're just asking for half of that yearly rent. We're asking for the other half from Quinte West as well, just to help support us until we can leverage what we can from the CDCP. Next slide, please. So I did talk about the old model and the new model. The old model obviously being one-offs, raise the money as we can, and then have a free dental day and get 10 people in. We are now at 100 people a month and turning people away. Unfortunately, we have a 3-month wait list at the moment. We're going to have to increase this to another day, but we think we can figure out a way to do it without having to continually ask for money. And yeah, we're basically at this point where we're trying to alleviate the pressures from the ER department, from Trenton Memorial, and very excited to work with them. And I have to say the ER doctors and the nurses are very excited to be able to have an answer to some of these problems that they have with the amount of people coming through for dental issues and infections. So, and nobody's going to pull out their teeth with pliers, hopefully. So that's a good thing. Next slide, please. That's just, oh, we can go to the next one, sorry. Yeah. Okay, so our contributions, I just wanted people to have a better understanding of, this is a medical practice. You know, it takes highly qualified staff. You know, you're looking at the only paid staff member right now, and I'm currently the accountant, the bookkeeper, the lawyer, the HR professional, the creative design person, the marketing person, and the person who comes and talks. So we do our best to make sure that we're not costing the organization any money and really maximize the amount of work that's being done through the single staff person. And in order to really get professionals that we need to do this work. And we're lucky because there's dentists and whatnot that are very kind and really willing to help so far. So just a quick breakdown, the project value for this increase for the year for us is $130,000. So Brighton's request represents about 15% of that. I don't have the numbers of how many people currently from Brighton specifically, but we only are doing people from Brighton and people from Trenton in that clinic. We are using our Belleville mobile clinic separately at Loyalist, so it's not in these numbers. We are currently covering the cost of new X-ray machine for $10,000. Office equipment for $15,000. We're looking at getting the 50% of the rent funded by Quinte West. Staff coordinators, volunteer dentists of $50,000 plus, and hygienists another $15,000 plus. Donated supplies at $5,000. With totaling, including this, would be $111,000 for the new program. So I just want to, tell you, thank you very much for, I think it was $7,000 you gave last year. It did not go to waste. And we are just trying to keep up as a charity and do what we can to help. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Ms. McKinnon. Questions from members of council? Councillor Wright, your glasses. Councillor Rowley.
Thank you. I was going to ask about your mobile unit. So it's still in use then, obviously.
Yes, I don't know if you saw last week.
No, I didn't see it. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. We actually did a clinic for the homeless. We did pulled out 37 teeth in Belleville with our mobile unit. And that's just one day. So we leave it at Loyalist. We separate that. I haven't gone to Belleville and asked for money and whatnot. That's kind of a one-off thing we try to do right now because we are really busy trying to service Trent Memorial to alleviate that pressure on the ER staff. So
and let me ask another question. So you're looking for our contribution. You said it was 19,000 plus or whatever, 15% of your total annual budget. And also based on the fact that Quinte West is going to pay half your rent, or you're hopeful.
We're hopeful. I mean,
if it doesn't happen,
the Amazing Race. So I think you guys participate in that. We're looking at doing another fundraiser hopefully in June. So, we'll do what we can. If we have to cut back, half a day for the dentist, that's what we'll do. But I don't foresee that happening. They're pretty good at helping us. And I know that Trenton Memorial is really pushing for this. It's saving about $5,000 a patient right now.
Right. But you haven't approached Quinte West yet?
We just haven't done haven't received confirmation. So
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that council receive the presentation from Corrine McKinnon, Gift from the Heart. Any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. Next presentation comes from Joanne Dunkley, Sunny Days.
Okay, we come again.
Jim Emptage.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome.
Mayor and council. Sunny Days Group Program, a day program for disabled adults in Brighton, certainly the largest. We are a not-for-profit and a registered charity. You know us, and last year we played you a movie. We're not going to do that tonight. But essentially, I'll start with the thing about volunteerism, and maybe the council and the mayor can think about how to invigorate somehow a volunteerism in the community. We have our three and only three directors here, Joanne Dunkley and Maureen Powell. One of the co-founders of this charity, founded in 2017, Deanna Opstein, has retired as of our last AGM just a week ago. And so we are down to three volunteer unpaid directors. Under the Act, the ONCA, we must have three. If we should go under three, all corporate business must cease except searching for a new director to bring it to the three. That's how it's written up in the Act. So we have advertisements here and there looking for volunteer director, not a wave of responses. People have been approached individually, some moderately interested, but no. And as our ages reflect, none of us are in our teens. So anyway, I just heard so much of that tonight that I think if somehow, I know Northumberland has some kind of volunteerism thing. I don't know if Brighton can jump in. Anyway, Sunny Days Group Program right now is a day program for disabled adults with their parents or caregivers, mostly residing in Brighton, but the surrounding area too, which would include Campbellford, like it was where our members come from. Coburg,
Belleville, Trenton.
okay. Would the lion's share be from Brighton? Thank you. That's where I'm hoping it would go. The two main sources are kids graduating out of high school, and the services drop off radically. The services they receive in the school basically end, and so parents are looking what's next. We provide the what's next. The other source, and it was me for a good while. I won't talk about my daughter too much, but we came to Brighton with a autistic daughter in tow, 45 years old, lives with us. And her bedroom was her best friend, along with her stuffies and us, her parents. To find a social group, it really is a kind of a highly supervised social club for disabled adults, was such an important step for us belonging here. We're Sarah belonging. And so we come to you. I guess the other main point is all of our membership fees, we do charge a fee, $60 a day. That all goes to support the building and our staff wages. And by the building, I mean hydro and taxes and things. All of the extras, the add-ons, the bowling, the swimming, the trips, the things that really enrich their lives come from fundraising. And that is always one of the major tasks of any not-for-profit. And that's why we're here every year. And you've supported us, I think, every year. I don't think we ever got to know. The amounts go up and down, but I don't think we ever got to know. And as far as your $30,000 request over the budget for this grant, I would ask that the council consider that limit for next year. I don't think the needs that you heard shared in this room, and it's only a fraction of the needs out there. You see a great swath more of them at the Brian Todd Foundation, where we all gather, and the range of helpful, useful, not-for-profit services is, I think, those needs aren't going to go down as, and I think I'm just putting a plug in, when that budget item comes up again, instead of limiting, where can we cut the 30,000 from our current requests? How can we meet it? I would suggest. Anyway, we're coming to you. This is the last important part. The last two grants were for capital items. 2 years ago, it was to improve on the front of our building, ancient office door and two ancient windows, single pane glass, cold as heck in there, and of course the cost of heating. That was 2 years ago. This year, the grant is going towards accessibility. First, we proposed a chairlift, and we proposed expanding our main floor kitchen to make it wheelchair accessible and a better line of sight for the staff supervising the group. We explored in depth and even had quotes, and I was at the permit department investigating the chairlift. Is that what I said? I meant chairlift. In the end, the directors determined our narrow stairway, even though it was going to be permittable under certain codes, it was going to block off too much of the stairway, just parked. And the bottom and top landing. So all of the money from last year's grant is going to expand further and make nicer the main floor kitchen and primarily making it wheelchair accessible. So this grant is a different category. This grant, we would like to add to the money that supports the activities, the events, the cultural events, the recreational events, movies, theaters, bowling, swimming, trips to the zoo, trips to medieval times, to just further enriching these adult lives who could never do it on their own. They don't have the capability, and many of their parents don't either, for financial reasons primarily. Sometimes, of course, more complicated reasons. And so we're here asking for the maximum of the $20,000. We heard you about your budget problem, not your item line problem. But do all you can, as you always have. We appreciate it, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Emtage. Questions from members of council? Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you, Mayor. Are you aware of the community improvement program that offers resources for accessibility upgrades? That's another.
Is it a provincial or municipal?
It's municipal. It's here in Brighton. So.
Okay.
We still have some money in the budget for that, right, Jessica?
I'm glad to hear about that. I just recently heard about, I saw it in the, sort of improving the outer appearance of our downtown buildings. I think I saw it in the Facebook, and I'll be pursuing that, or we'll be pursuing that. It sounded like a great idea.
Deputy Clerk.
I'm glad to hear about this, and we'll look into it. If you want to contact us and help us look into it, we'd appreciate it.
Jim, we're going to let the Deputy Clerk speak for a second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. Yes, there's a community improvement plan. There's a facade branch that is for outside of businesses, and there is an accessibility branch as well. As far as eligible businesses, I'm not sure and would have to defer to the manager of economic development and communications on that. But I believe the accessibility committee just heard about from a accessibility application recently, and the applications will open up again next year for funds next year.
Thank you for that. And if you have a broadcast list of emails for that sort of information, put Sunny Days group program on the list. I'd appreciate it. Yeah.
I think we can do that if you qualify. Look, sounds like you might. So, Mr. Hagerman will coordinate with the clerk's office and get your email address to get you on that list.
Appreciate it. Thank
Any
you
other
very much.
questions from members of council? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Motion is moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that council receive the presentation from Jim Emtage, Sunny Days. Questions, comments, all in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. And our final presentation this evening comes from Joshua, is it Noiseau?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's, well, thank you.
We could do a variety of different ways of doing it.
How do you do it?
I grew up with Wiseau, Noise, Noisiux, but technically it's Noiseux.
Noiseux.
Well, yeah.
Well, that's what, if that's your name, that's how we will endeavor to pronounce it.
Do your best, yeah.
All right.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Turn the floor over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and council and staff as well. I appreciate very much your help with getting this put together at the last minute here. I'd like to actually change a little bit and just leave this first slide up. I'm going to go a little more ad lib through this in the interest of time to try to make sure that everybody can get home tonight. So yes, again, thank you very much for having me here today. I want to outline a little bit what I want to talk about. I'm going to talk a little bit about my own journey with Alice and kind of contextualize why I'm here and introduce myself. I'll talk about Alice itself, which is a not-for-profit charity, and I'll explain what it does and why it's a benefit to the agricultural communities. And then I'll talk about specifically Alice in Northumberland and in Brighton and what we're proposing to do here. So first of all, I'm a farmer from Hamilton Township. I raise sheep and pork and chicken down there, and I've been a part of the Alice program now for several years. I first joined the program as a farmer member, where we received funding from Alice to delay haying certain fields that we have in order to benefit the fledgling grassland birds. So that allowed for bobolink, eastern meadowlark, and several other grassland bird species and species at risk to actually bring their young to fledge and still at the same time produce a viable hay crop, but have this the benefit of additional funding because it's a reduced quality of hay if you wait longer for the fledgling. So that was our first introduction to the program. And the concept of the program was really interesting to me because we were kind of ecologically oriented farmers in the first place. And this is kind of the whole idea behind Alice, is that agriculture and conservation can work together instead of being siloed in kind of two different realms. Later, I took a little bit more of a role with Alice, and I joined their partnership advisory committee, and I'll explain a little bit more about that. But essentially, it's a farmer-led committee that organizes and administers and advises the program on how it works. So I joined that, and I was there for a year until this year when I took an even bigger role when we transitioned. So formerly, this Alice group was housed inside of the Ontario Federation of Anglers and Hunters as our legal entity because we're not big enough to incorporate on our own. But then it moved and became part of Kawartha Conservation as an autonomous program just housed inside their administration. When that happened in May of this year, I joined as program coordinator and I took on that role because I'm really passionate about this program. I really think it makes a lot of sense for a number of different angles. And I'm going to explain to you a little bit more about why that is. So the Alice model, essentially what Alice is a not-for-profit that supports farmers to produce ecosystem services. And that's kind of what we think of in Alice. We think farmers produce food, they produce fiber, they produce fuel, but they also produce, in a way, nature. So farmers are inherently stewards of the land, whether they realize it or not, or which their practices go more ecological or not. They're always managing and stewarding land. And what we want to do in Alice is help farmers steward it in the best possible way to build a resilient landscape and a resilient community so that we have good water, healthy hydrological resources, water resources, healthy soils, healthy forests, and all of those things that we know are such an integral part of the landscape in our rural communities. And so the model works like this. Alice is a national charity that exists through these partnership advisory committees locally in different communities. And so here now, we've recently expanded from formerly Alice Peterborough to Alice Kawartha's Peterborough, Northumberland. And that's happened this year. And we were able to pick up where we left off despite the legal entity transition process and actually grow. So now this year we've went from 65 farmer members and participants in the program to 77 in this year since May, since we've gotten the program back up rolling again. So what happens is these local communities, guided by their partnership advisory committees, help farmers fund ecosystem projects on their land. And there's a wide variety and it's non-prescriptive. So we don't really say you can only do this, this, or that. We work with farmers to identify priorities on their farms in the best way that they can steward the land. So it could look like fencing to exclude livestock from riparian areas, but it could also look like creation of new wetland areas and new riparian vegetative buffers. It could look like new native grassland establishment projects. It could look like tree planting, replacing hedgerows and block planting of forests on marginal kind of areas of farmland. So there's a wide variety of different projects that we fund, and we don't only fund the establishment of the projects themselves, but we also do fund an ongoing support and extension and advising services for farmers and agricultural landowners in the community. So what we do is we provide kind of pegged at marginal land lease rates, annual payments on an acreage basis that are enrolled in the program to support farmers to be able to make these decisions to say, okay, this area here is perennially wet, it doesn't do very well, it doesn't produce very good, but we're trying to make a living, so we're farming it anyway. We say, no, we're going to pay you a marginal land lease rate to actually keep that as a wetland, and we construe that as the production of ecosystem services. So the farmers are now in the business of producing the ecosystem services, and that's what the Alice model is all about, is facilitating that and allowing that to continue. Let me think. So basically, we fairly robust funding, generally speaking, throughout our program. We exist in Western Canada, we exist in Southwestern Ontario. We're kind of growing here in Central and Eastern Ontario, and we have traditionally had a pretty robust funding setup. We've got funding from federal, provincial governments, funding from private foundations, and funding from individuals. And we're also looking at funding from municipalities. As we expand into Northumberland County more and more, we want to get a greater reach, greater connection to the agricultural communities. I have pretty good, decent connections in Hamilton Township, less so out here. So we're looking to connect more with farmers, and that's where the funding comes in. We're looking at funding not only the projects themselves and the annual payments, which we already have robust, like I said, funding to do. Our budget is going to more than double next year due to the success this year. But we don't really have excellent funding for outreach and engagement in new communities because some of our funding is tied to the projects themselves. So we can actually implement projects on the ground pretty well, but we want to have more outreach in the communities to reach more areas that we haven't had access to yet. For example, Brighton. So with that in mind, the funding is leveraged inherently. So we're not asking for the $20,000 so that we can just do 2 projects with that money. For example, 2 wetland excavation projects or a grassland establishment. We're asking for that money to complement money that we're already going to be putting into the agricultural community in this region by at least a 1-to-1 ratio, probably significantly more, because we also generally partner with the farmers themselves to supply funding into the projects that they're doing on their land. So we're looking at multi-partners involved in these projects, and the funding from the municipality of Brighton will help us reach those farmers and reach the broader community to celebrate into our successes and to figure out how we're going to continue to expand in the community. Some of the other partners we have already in the community is Nature Conservancy of Canada. We're working with them on some of our bigger grassland restoration projects, which if you are familiar, of course, with Alderville, Black Oak Savanna, it's in a similar vein. We're restoring these native grasslands, which are deeply threatened and at risk. So on agricultural lands, we're finding ways that those native grasslands can actually be economically viable, still be grazed, still be mown for hay, but actually be of benefit to the species at risk that evolved alongside those native grasslands. We partner with Northumberland Land Trust, Ducks Unlimited, and we're working closely with other conservation authorities as well to try to make sure that our funding is coordinated and we're working in collaboration and close connection and communication with existing programs that exist in the space of Northumberland County in general. Yeah, so I think I'll leave it at that for now, and I'll take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, sir. Members of the council. Councilor Rowley.
And I don't know, maybe our representatives on Lower Trent, are you working with this group? Councilor Wheeldon.
I've known Joshua for a little while now. He was a presenter at the Ecological Restoration Conference that I went to a couple of weeks ago at Trent University, and saw him again on Saturday in Hastings, as I mentioned earlier. So we are aligned in a lot of different respects, and I have tried to connect him with stuff that's happening at Lower Trent as well. And I know the people I work with at Northumberland Land Trust know and like Josh as well. And so we interface in a lot of different places, but what role Alice plays, to me, I feel like it's kind of almost a connecting point for like 5 other things that I'm working on all at once. And so I love it. And think that it could be a really positive intersection for a lot of different interests. But the thing that stands out to me is that it makes all of those other projects that eggheads like me like to think about work for farmers who are actually going to be the ones that have to ultimately make it work. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you both. Anyone else? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Motion is moved by Councilor Wheeldon, seconded by Councilor McCausland, that council receive the presentation from Joshua Nwazu, Alice Quarthas, Peterborough, Northumberland. Any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. I'm pleased to say that ends our presentations for this evening. Thank you, everyone, for providing us with that information. I know it's not always easy to get up in front of a microphone, so thank you. Madam Clerk, are there any citizens' comments this evening? Before we head into staff reports, we're going to do a couple things. First, I'm going to note that the public open house for the secondary planning Greenfield area is on Thursday, November 20th at King Edward Park. As I noted, the time is 6 to 9 p.m., between 6 and 9 p.m. I'll also let everyone know that the federal budget has passed its third vote. The final vote was 170 in favor, 168 opposed. It is 8:20. I'm going to take a 10-minute recess.
Okay, so I just want to make sure there was an action. I hadn't, sometimes starting to go on, but I think it's definitely.
It's 8:30. We'll call the meeting back to order. Thank you very much. We'll bring us into staff reports. The first report is surrounding the mayor's 2026 municipal budget, and I do have some comments around this before turning the floor over to the treasurer to provide us with the presentation on this. First, I'll note that in good parliamentary tradition, the finance minister often buys new shoes for his or her budget, which did happen this year in Ottawa. Some more frugal finance ministers have had their shoes resold and other such things. On the weekend, I repaired my shoes with shoe glue and a clamp from my garage. My wife said, "I'm sure we can afford a new pair of shoes." And I said, "No, it's good." So that's how frugal I am, my friends, right there. Current legislation, sorry, before I get going, I do want to remind everyone, shout out to Chief Thompson and the fire department, the Tim Hortons Smile Cookie campaign running all week at the Brighton Tim Hortons is in support of Brighton Fire and Rescue and some things that they will be purchasing as a team. So not included in this budget in any way, shape, or form. We got current legislation under the Municipal Act Strong Mayor Powers provides clear direction that the mayor is required to present a budget for council's consideration before February 1st. I am therefore this evening presenting the framework for the 2026 budget estimates, a plan that reflects our strategic priorities, supports Brighton's financial sustainability, and addresses the needs of our growing community. In June, with the tacit approval of the Integrity Commissioner, I provided an email to all members of council asking what specific projects they would like to see in the budget. Following that, I issued a formal letter directing the CAO to begin the budget development process. That letter was shared with all members of council for input. I am pleased to report that no concerns were raised, only positive feedback was received. This reinforces that the priorities outlined in my direction letter are shared by council. Tonight, we will receive the budget presentation. Next Monday, the public is invited to an open house here in council chambers to provide their insights and suggestions, which will be followed by council's deliberations and any amendments they wish to propose. Our budget is not just about numbers, it's a roadmap. It aligns with Brighton's long-term strategic plans, asset management goals, and financial sustainability. We are committed to responsible stewardship of tax dollars while investing in initiatives and service provisions that enhance the quality of life for the residents of Brighton. My direction letter included the following community priorities: wastewater treatment, funding options and financing strategies for this critical infrastructure, noting that $35 million is already funded by our provincial partners. Environmental leadership, incentives for volunteers and the Mayor's Keep the County Clean challenge, and options to electrify and decarbonize our municipal fleet. These are not just environmental goals, they are goals to help drive Brighton's affordability. Transportation and safety, traffic calming measures guided by the Transportation Master Plan and funded in part by automated speed enforcement revenues and by the recently announced Roads Safety Initiatives Fund. Emergency services, financing strategies for new fire and rescue infrastructure, including developing plans and drawings for a training facility, a South Brighton substation, and a new Station No. 1 fire ambulance base. Roads and maintenance, plans that redevelop rural back roads to help drive operational efficiencies, developing strategies to increase the life of rural road surfaces, plans to surface treat gravel roads and reconstruction targets that include sidewalk repair and additions, urban road reconstruction maintenance, and important brushing and dishing work for our rural neighborhoods. Community enhancement, a tree canopy initiative for parks and roadways and private homes that help restore community tree cover, some of which was destroyed during the tornado of 1973, and that we can begin to reestablish 52 years later. Public safety, security measures including surveillance in public parks, areas that are prone to vandalism. And funding opportunities, aggressively pursuing grants from provincial and federal governments, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, programs like the Green Municipal Fund. When we began this process, I had hoped to deliver a tax freeze this year and set the stage to reduce property taxes in the coming years. Unfortunately, with the cancellation of the automated speed enforcement program, driving this affordability initiative is no longer possible. Automated speed enforcement would have allowed us to improve public safety and provide real affordability for Brighton and Brighton ratepayers. Instead, we have developed a budget that keeps taxes at a reasonable level while ensuring we invest in critical infrastructure, including traffic and pedestrian safety. We have earmarked a portion for traffic calming and pedestrian safety measures in this budget. We have been informed that in the first round of provincial funding for this purpose, we will receive just over $56,000, but we will be applying for nearly 10 times that amount in order to help develop some of the safest streets in Ontario. I remain determined to keep our community safe, its drivers, and the walking public. This budget reflects my commitment to sustainability, safety, and community well-being. I look forward to working with council and staff to refine these priorities and deliver a budget that meets the needs of Brighton today and prepares us for tomorrow. And so, Mr. Creamer, I'm going to turn the floor over to you to provide the financial professional budget. Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you, Your Worship. Before I begin and dive into the presentation, there is a staff report that outlines the process and some of the particulars around how the new budget process is going to work. Are there any questions on that? I think Alana might be a little better suited and a little bit more aware of those legislative requirements, but happy to answer any questions on that before we dive into the presentation.
Members of council? Councillor Wheeldon?
I identified something earlier and it's slipping my mind at the moment, but it was something to do with you have to do this because of strong mayor powers, but it seems like there are things noted in here that are like incentives to do this. And I thought this seems inconsistent with this being a requirement. And I want to say it was, the budget must support provincial priorities under Ontario Regulation 580/22, including building 1.5 million homes by 2031 and infrastructure for housing, roads, transit, and utilities. I remember when they were first rolling out strong mayor powers, they were saying anybody who agrees to do these things can get strong mayor powers. And now they've gone and given it to everybody and said, now you have to do these things. Is this the province saying we're going to enforce a municipal level agenda? Is that what I'm reading?
I think we have to take a wait and see approach on that one. I don't anticipate any interference in our budget from the provincial level. I'm not hearing that anyway.
I mean, we want to do those things anyway. But it struck me as if these are the requirements and then baked into the requirements are, and you must do the things that we're saying that we're trying to do. I just wanted to make sure I understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on the report? Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess, and I guess maybe going through this report or going forward with this budget, I'm probably going to have more questions because in other years, we've had a 8 to 10 inch binder full of hundreds of pages where I've had a lot more background information to kind of justify maybe which way we're going here. And I guess I'm finding that a little bit difficult to kind of just say, so this is what we're spending here without a whole lot of extra justification for why we're doing it. So I don't know if we're gonna, it's already a long night. I'm sure we're going to be kicking this can for a couple of more council meetings yet, or at least that's my hope, because I'm missing, you're shaking your head. We're not gonna.
One more.
And
Next Monday.
So after next week, we're done.
Next Monday, you'll propose amendments if you want to see any amendments to the budget.
And then we'll have another kick at it for at least one more time.
And the only other thing we would do is put the place markers in for the grants and aid, which I don't think we'll get to next Monday, but we might.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll just wait to see how this rolls out because I find that going through it quicker doesn't always make it going through it better. I'm certainly not, like the increase that you're looking at is certainly not a concern to me, at all. I might have a few more questions and lucky for me, I've kept my budget book from last year. So I still want to take time to look through some of that just to see if where we can, as to why we're here. I'm missing the history on some of this. That's my concern.
If there's any deep dive you want to take into any specific area, the treasurer will make himself available over the course of the next week for that purpose.
That's all well and fine, but I'm sure the treasurer has a lot on his plate. A very busy week this week as well. So to get through all of this, I might not have all my questions answered by next Monday.
We'll see where next Monday takes us then.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Wright.
And just a comment from me as well. I haven't been at this as long as you have, Emily, but I found myself today going like, where's my binder? I don't understand. Where's my binder? And had sent some questions off. And I think it's really important that the public understands that us as council right now are seeing just as much as the public is. We're not any more wiser than anybody else at the moment. And so it's very disconcerting going through this new process. I don't have any issues with what I'm seeing in the budget, but it is a very different process. And if there turns out to be something that we don't agree with, the process that we are prescribed to take is very unusual as well. So stay tuned. It could be fun, but the strong mayor powers are a very different beast than what we are used to in the budget.
They absolutely are. And I think they're forcing a streamlined process for the budget, which is all fine and dandy. But I also found it forced me, and I think now you that we've got it here, to take a more strategic look from a more strategic level at our budget rather than the operational grind of line by line searches, which a lot of us have become used to in a small community, but it's not really what members of council should be doing from a strategic budgetary perspective. So this kind of forces our hand in that respect. On the other hand, the information is available and staff can provide that information if that's the information you're looking for on a departmental basis. But we won't be providing the 3-inch binders like we have in the past. Well, whatever, 4-inch binder, whatever it was. The big old binder will not be coming out. Mr. Treasurer.
Question.
Councillor Rowley. You did that years ago. Go ahead and ask your question.
Even my microphone doesn't want to cooperate. I just don't want to see this an idea as rubber stamping, because that's kind of what I'm seeing. Staff has put this together along with you. This is your budget. And I don't want to see this as just rubber stamping, like we're going to spend this much money here and here's why we're doing it. Move on. That's my concern. I don't want to be the rubber stamper, regardless of, getting today the grants and aid, not cut and dried, as you know, because we are $30,000 that we got to find from somewhere. But it looks like some of the approvals have been made without the elected people making them. That's kind of what I'm seeing.
So no decisions have been made on grants and aid. Okay. Councillor Wheeldon.
Just in response to Councillor Riley's last comment, I was speaking with someone today about what it's like to be on council and the kind of decisions that we make, but then also the perception often of what it's like to be on council. I've been meeting a lot of municipal staff from across the province through this AMCTO HR course that I've been taking, and hearing from staff in other municipalities talking about what it's like on their council, because they've got a councillor who wants to interrogate every decision that they're making to the nth degree and wants to see the smallest line items in every budget and those kinds of things. and how that's driving staff turnover and leads to fractious councils and all of those different things. And that's certainly, we've never done that here, and I've been really grateful for it. But I know that it is such a common tendency. And so to the mayor's point, this is requiring us to go to a very high strategic level rather than getting into the weeds at all. And we've gotten into the weeds a few times here. But it is, because it's forcing our hand at that, it does feel like we are losing information. But the comment that I made to somebody about this today is that primarily, I think we are guardians of the process, and this part of the process has been somewhat taken out of our hands. But that said, being guardians of the process means that sometimes rubber stamping is actually the best thing, because it acknowledges that we can see that the process has been followed and that our staff has done good work, and so we can just agree. And from what I've seen in this, I believe that to be the case. I mean, I have comments as well, but I'm not worried that we have gone off course on the process in this regard. And so I do feel comfortable in that regard.
Thank you. Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, members of council, staff, and residents. As much as I will quickly say, as much as this is a new process for council, it's a new process for staff and for myself. I've been doing this for a while, and this is brand new for me too, and a learning curve. Not only is this process new, the municipality is new. And so, you know, I think this is going to be the first major presentation that you've received from me. Probably by the end of it, I won't feel new because I'm about to do a lot of talking here. But, you know, I just get a few things out of the way. I want to take a moment and thank a few people, because I don't think this would have gotten done without them. So first of all, Alana, you've been really helpful showing me how things were done last year and providing a lot of the information. The managers and directors providing information along the way. My finance team, especially Keith Puffer, who's been here spending long nights, long evenings with me here trying to get this done. And then lastly, Caroline Birch, who is responsible for the presentation put together, largely responsible for this presentation this evening. So we'll kind of get through this together, and we'll work through it. And as the mayor identified, I am available for questions. You know, I'm very available, very open to answering whatever questions you may have. So I will now walk you through the details of the 2026 municipal budget. I'm going to begin the presentation by providing an overview of the budget process, including the timelines and how we arrived at the 2026 budget in front of you this evening. And then I'll get into the numbers and the various components of the budget. So just a really quick note, before I move forward, there have been some very minor changes to the presentation that was distributed on Friday, just slight ordering of things, maybe an edit on a word or two. So we can move to the next, sorry, no, this is the slide I want. Actually, no, we will move to the next slide. So as we were discussing, as the mayor kind of outlined the process, and in the report it is outlined. Tonight we're here, we received the presentations for grants and aid. Then we will have the budget open house next week from 4 to 6. We expect senior management to be in attendance and available to answer any questions from public, council, whoever wants to come and ask a question. We'll be here and ready. And then we'll have a special council meeting for the budget at 6:30 that evening. We expect, if all goes to this plan, that the first opportunity to adopt the 2026 budget would be December 15th. Next slide, please. So I think in developing this budget and getting to this point, it's important to understand the different roles in the property tax process. So the government of Ontario establishes the laws, as we've been discussing here, and they also set the education rates. The Municipal Property Assessment Corporation, or most people know them as MPAC, they determine the assessed value of all the properties in the province. And then as a municipality, we determine our revenue requirements, which sets the municipal tax rate. And then we collect the taxes that pay for our services. And of course, property owners pay the property taxes that fund these services. Next slide. The property tax bill that residents receive is made up of three components. The percentages shown on this slide are based on a 2025 residential tax bill. The municipal levy set by council, it makes up the largest portion at 51%. The county levy set by Northumberland County accounts for 39%. And the remaining 10% is the education levy, which is set by the province of Ontario. I do like this slide. I think it's good because it frames the portion of the tax bill that we are here tonight to discuss and to present. We're here to discuss half of the final tax bill, and that the other half are dedicated or dictated and determined by the county and the province. Next slide, please. So how did we get here tonight? What was the process and how do we develop the budget? Well, we start back in the summer. We have lots of meetings and we begin to review the current spend year to date. We start to identify changes that are needed, both from a cost perspective and maybe some changes in our services. But we do this review with the following kind of three sets of guidelines also in mind, and we keep these in mind as we're doing that line by line review. So we have the mayoral direction as per the new strong mayor powers. We have our strategic planning initiatives, which have been set by council and were updated in September. Then there are a number of studies and plans that have been done throughout the years, recent or not even as recent, but they all come together to form the creation of our annual budget. Over the next 9 slides, we will discuss how this budget has met the mayoral budget directives. So we move to the next slide. The first directive was to identify funding and financing strategies for the wastewater treatment plant. Some updates on this project and kind of where we sit. In 2025, the contract for the construction of the plant was awarded for $51 million. Also in 2025, we received, or it might have been 24, but we did receive $35 million of funding from the Ontario government through the Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund, or less of a mouthful is HUSIF. The balance of the costs will be debentured. The annual debenture payments will be funded through a combination of development charges and our annual rates. The municipality did complete a water and wastewater rate study at the beginning of 2025, which determined the necessary increases over the next few years to be able to fund the debenture payments and keep up with the supply. I will say that a further, more detailed report will be provided at an upcoming meeting, which will get into more detail and the nitty-gritty of this plan and how exactly it's going to be paid more on an annual basis. But the debenture will not kick in until 2028, likely, in terms of the payments, and so it does not impact the 2026 budget. Move to the next slide. Oh, you already did. You're ahead of me. Thank you. The second directive was to provide incentives for volunteers participating in the Mayor's Keep the County Clean Challenge, such as providing a sheet of garbage tags to each household with a volunteer. Held in each April in the lead up to Earth Day, the Mayor's Keep the County Clean Challenge engages residents from all municipalities in a friendly competition to remove litter and illegal dumping from public spaces. We have allocated $5,000 to provide volunteers with a sheet of garbage tags. Third objective is to electrify and decarbonize the municipal fleet. To achieve this objective, staff are reviewing all fleet purchases, current and in future, and the viability of electric or hybrid vehicles. This budget includes 1 gas-powered vehicle that will be replaced with a hybrid, and 2 new additions to the fleet, which will be hybrid vehicles. The fourth objective is to include options and plans for traffic calming and pedestrian safety, giving consideration to the transportation master plan. For this objective, it's important to note that this budget provided to you tonight does include $500,000 for projects that enhance road safety in school and community zones. The intention is for these projects to be funded through the newly announced Provincial Road Safety Initiatives Fund. This is to be in place of the automated speed enforcement program that Doug Ford has communicated and has promised. We are still awaiting more details on exactly what this program will look like, but we will keep council up to date as more details become available. The fifth objective is to identify financing strategies for the new fire and rescue infrastructure, including a training facility, a South Brighton substation, and a news station #1 fire ambulance space. This budget includes $500,000 allocation for the design and site plan of the new station. This will allow the municipality to finalize a design, which will go a long ways to determine final costs and the ultimate financing strategy. This, again, more details exactly how this will roll out in terms of financing strategy will be provided, but the $500,000 for 2026 will be rolled into any future debenture for this project. The sixth objective is to include road resurfacing and maintenance plans that meet or exceed established targets. The 2026 budget includes a number of road maintenance and resurfacing projects. These projects are determined through staff reviews, condition assessments, and strategic planning. The specific projects are identified later in the presentation, and that's probably a good time to go over those. Seventh objective is to identify grant opportunities and funding sources through the provincial and federal governments, as well as organizations such as AMO and FCM, including the Green Municipal Fund. It's important to note that Municipality of Brighton staff and even council, I think, any opportunities that come your way and the mayor, you're sure to forward them along, and we're constantly monitoring and applying for grant opportunities that present themselves to us to support infrastructure development. Recent successes include receiving funding totaling over $35.5 million from programs such as the Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund, Fire Protection Grant, Brighton Legion's Ladies Auxiliary Grant, Canadian Heritage Grant, Canada Summer Jobs Grant, Hydro One Ice Storm 2025 Recovery Grant, and then 2 Community Safety and Policing grants. The 8th objective was to create and include a tree canopy initiative for the community with plantings in both parks and along roadways. This budget allows for $12,500 for this initiative. I would say exact details of this project will be determined once the budget is approved and into 2026. I think it's also important to note that staff will monitor grant opportunities for this initiative, as we have seen funding available for projects like this in recent years. The 9th and last objective was to include safety and security measures, including surveillance of public areas prone to vandalism. For this objective, there was a project approved in 2025, which is being carried forward to 2026 to install cameras in the parks. Additional funding has been added to the operating budget to allow for some additional costs for this initiative. Staff are reviewing some options related to this project, and the project is moving along, I think, to be reported on and determined how exactly this will roll out in 2026. Okay, moving on to this slide, which I think summarizes, the discussions that we're having and the major things that are going on when we're meeting with the managers, with the mayor, and everything. The major budget challenges and opportunities. I think every budget cycle presents its own set of challenges and opportunities. I I thought it was interesting preparing this slide because I kind of found many of these items could be listed as both a challenge and an opportunity. For example, I think the first one that I'll discuss is the elimination of the automated speed enforcement revenue. The 2025 budget included $250,000 of revenue from the ASC program. And then as of November 14th, I'm sure we're all aware, the program was canceled. Therefore, we had to make up this revenue in the budget. Director Walsh will be providing a report on the outcomes of the ASC program, both financial and non-financial, at an upcoming council meeting. But the strategy in this budget is to use revenue from the program earned in 2025 to phase out the revenue from the budget and minimize the budget impact. So therefore, we have also identified ASC revenues as an opportunity. The 2026 budget includes $250,000 from the 2025 revenues. 2027 would include 200,000, 2028, 150, and so on. This is the way that we can minimize the impact of the removal of this program. There will be some funds left, and again, the exact amounts will be identified in the report coming up. But there will be some funds left for road improvements and community safety measures, sidewalk works, traffic calming, projects especially that are not going to be covered through the potential grant program from the province. Another challenge is the wage and benefit increases that had to be accounted for, but I can go over more of those when we discuss the operating budget changes. We continue to see increased costs for insurance across the province for municipalities. This is very common. We don't have our exact costs for 2026 yet, as our broker is bringing our insurance program to market. But we are estimating a 10% increase. That just seems to be the annual amount that we're seeing. Fingers crossed that it comes in lower and we're able to go to market and see some savings. But I've seen it twice that amount, and that seems to be kind of an average increase at this point. Something else, as most of us see in our daily lives, almost all software providers are moving to a software as a service model where subscriptions are required. Think Microsoft 365. We used to be able to purchase and upgrade and one-time cost, and then enjoy that for a few years, maybe skip an iteration, and then we'd be able to purchase the next one. But now everything has moved to a subscription cost. And as we continue to modernize our services, oftentimes these updates include additional software, which means additional subscriptions. So also, but I will say some of the costs identified as additional IT costs do include costs for enhanced measures for network security, which can definitely be a huge risk for municipalities, and it's an ongoing risk that we're always looking to mitigate. I have identified the decrease in bank rates as an opportunity, given the large projects that are coming up to debenture. But this is what I'm talking about. Some things can be listed on both sides. It also represents lower interest earnings on our bank accounts and our cash. Here I've listed new assessment growth as an opportunity, which it is from a revenue perspective. But one thing that can often be difficult to quantify and measure is the costs that the new growth and development bring. So oftentimes it happens slowly over time, and we expand our services to meet that growth. And it can be difficult to quantify the cost of to meet the new needs and of the expansion of services. But you will see in a future slide that the new assessment growth does help offset some of the expenses that we are incurring, and it does allow us to expand our services. The last opportunity identified on this slide is just that we are seeing an increase in the Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund. This is the second year of an increase after being pretty static for a few years. This is really just keeping up with inflation, but everything helps. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit how the municipal levy is calculated. So we've talked about all the inputs and the objectives of the budget. So after staff review their budgets, we kind of bring everything together and we determine what the required levy would be to provide the budget. The 2026 budget includes a levy of just over 14.4 million. Next slide, please. As I did identify, one of the opportunities from a revenue perspective is the increase in assessment growth. So as we go through the chart here, we see that the levy increased 858,000 from 2025, but we do have an assessment growth revenue of 189,000, just under 190,000. How that's being determined is we are seeing an assessment increase of 1.4%, which lowers the total impact of the levy increase from 6.3% down to the 4.9% that we're showing. This is one of the slides. There was just a typo error on the first number there under monthly, but that's corrected in this presentation. So for a 4.9% on an assessed property at 400,000, we would see an increase of just under $40 per 100,000 of assessment. So for 400,000, for a property assessed at $400,000, this would be an increase of $156.51 annually, or $13 per month. One thing, just as we're talking about assessment, it's going to be kind of important to remember we're getting really far away from 2016, and all of our assessed values are in 2016 dollars. And so sometimes I think people can maybe look at a number like this and think that their impact would be larger. However, your assessment is likely lower than what you could get for your house today, because your assessment is based on 2016 value and not the current value today. In an ideal assessment system where that gap isn't very large and we're much closer, we're still awaiting the new tax legislation and hoping we can get some new assessments and updated assessments. Next slide, please. So as we have some meetings, and I'm meeting with all the managers and departments, there are other boards and agencies that are paid for and funded through this budget. And I'm sure they're having all the same meetings and discussions that we are. So what I've outlined here is the police budget, library budget, and the Lower Trent Conservation Authority. There's going to be a few important things to note, especially on the police budget. So what we're showing there is a 4% change. However, last year, the initial presentation to municipalities included a substantial increase. I think on average, it was about 20% across the province. The Solicitor General stepped in and provided some subsidies and reduced that increase for municipalities. Thankful to last year's staff, and they included a contribution to reserve of $90,000 with foresight that we knew a large increase would come in future years. So that was added to the base of the budget, but also contributed to reserve. So I had 90,000 that I could pull, and I'm splitting it over this year and next year. So 45,000 this year, 45,000 next year, which minimizes the impact. However, we are showing an 11% increase in cost from the Police Services Board. The legislation passed a few weeks ago at this point, a couple months ago, capped the annual percent increase at 11%. Given what we saw last year before they subsidized it, I think it's fair to assume it's going to be 11%. We don't know for sure, we can't say, but it's just an assumption built into this model. The library budget has provided me their figures, and they're asking for $17,727 more, which represents a 3% increase. And similar to the Lower Trent Conservation Authority, $27,000 increase represents an 11.3%. Altogether, these boards are going up 4.4%, which represents 0.9% impact to our levy. Providing a comparison here of taxes on $400,000 in municipalities across the county. You will see Brighton is on kind of in the middle. We rank fourth out of, fifth out of the 8. If I can do my math right, there are 7. Sorry. We can move on to the next slide, please. We have a table here summarizing the operating expenditures. So this is not the total operating budget because we do have revenues that offset the expenditures that come in, whether it's rentals, grants, whatever it be, but there is $16,290,000 in expenditures. We will see the breakdown of the departments here. Public Works makes up a large portion, policing, planning. I think one thing we could probably do this slide as we put it out to the public is put some percentages. Next slide, please. So to wrap up operating, what we see is a $694,281 increase, which is a 5.1% impact. This slide is going to talk about the key changes that we have seen and faced from operating. From salary and wage changes, it's a 4% impact to the levy. So this is, in 2025, there were some positions that were added to the budget. In order to add them and make the increase reasonable last year, they were budgeted for part of the year. So whether it was for 9 months or 3 months, 6 months. So there's a few positions of those and budgeting for the full amount in 2026 now that they have been added to the base. As per union agreements, 4.75% cost of living adjustment. And then the rest have been some benefit increases. Part of the process as we are going through the budget is to verify the numbers, make sure that everything in there is correct. Sometimes we do catch things that maybe were not updated or correct in the previous budget. So one of those was the benefit rate was still at the 2024 rate. There was a larger increase last year. This year it's on the smaller side, but we are having to capture both years. It was the increase was missed in last year's budget. There's some positions throughout the organization and just people from being with the organization longer. You get some salary and wage adjustments to reflect grid movement. We were able to do some assessment of historical use and allocations to overtime and standby wages throughout the organization and reduce budgets accordingly based on historical use. And so that offsets some of those increases. From the rest of the departmental and corporate revenue side, I've touched on some of these, but we did have increased revenues such as OMPF and able to increase some of our revenues related to payments in lieu, which is basically taxes we receive from government organizations. As I mentioned, we're always looking to make sure the budget is correct and we're trying to catch some things. So we've had to reduce the building revenues to reflect more recent actuals. And last year, the revenues were increased to account for some major developments that were going to be coming on board last year and paying some significant fees. The building department should be and is legislated to be self-funded. So when we increase the revenues, there should have been a corresponding increase for the transfer to reserve. That transfer to reserve was missed, and therefore we were funding some of the tax-based budget from the building department. And so to correct that, we see $100,000 loss in revenue from the building department. We see an increase in insurance, grants and aid. Grants and aid, the program is 1.5% of the previous year's levy. And therefore, just with the increase last year, you see an increase in dollars there. Physician recruitment, which is that on tonight's? Yep. So some of the dollars will definitely make more sense after the report later this evening, and some animal control cost increases related to cat control. And in the previous slide, I did discuss IT adjustments to reflect software additions. Moving on to capital. So this chart here is showing that the 2026 capital program is just over $8.5 million. Also attached to the presentation were some capital tables outlining all of the capital projects and the related funding sources. Those tables have kind of two sections to it. So there's the 2025 projects, which were previously approved, and the amount that is being carried forward into this year's budget. So those projects are still slated to happen. The amount in front of you here are the new projects being added to the 2026 capital program. As we see, and this is going to be very common across all municipalities, but approximately, a little over half of the program is from public works, roads projects, major machinery and equipment. Next slide, please. And so how is this being paid for? So in the 2026 capital program, just under 1.7 million is from the levy. We have development charges paying for 1.5 million. That 500,000 to be debt financed externally is for the fire hall, as previously mentioned. We have some costs that will be funded from internal financing and internal loans. The 2.6 million in grants. So what that is made up of is the 500,000 that we've identified as sidewalk and road safety traffic calming measures. It's our annual contribution from gas tax, or now known as CCBF, our annual OCIF allocations. And we've been able to use some previous years' gas tax and OCIF allocations to complete projects and complete some work in the 2026 budget. We do have just under 1.4 million that is being funded through the water and wastewater rates, and just under $750,000 being funded from reserves. These are projects that have been identified, and there's sufficient reserves to cover them off. Next program, or next slide. So part of the story of this budget is that a large part of the overall increase is on the operating side, and so to keep the overall increase to a manageable number, we've had to hold the line on the capital levy share. I don't think that this is a year that we've actually held the line on the overall capital program. We've offset that by using some reserves, some additional gas tax and OCIF funding that are available, and also a number of the projects are being funded from development charges. Going to go through a list. Again, this is a list of the projects that have been identified in that capital table, but there should be maybe a little bit more context given on these next few slides to some of those projects. The tree canopy initiative has been discussed, but the one that's for me interesting on this slide is the finance system updates. So having come in, I think there's a number of processes that we could improve and work on as a department. And so looking for some funds to digitize some of those processes. So some of those processes include timesheets, time off requests, accounts payable. And I think these are all things that touch the entire organization. So it won't only create efficiencies within the finance department, but it also create efficiencies kind of corporate wide. I think the ROI on these improvements will be pretty drastic. Next slide, please. The second project here identified is going to be a number of station improvements and equipment replacement. This project and projects includes bunker gear and PPE replacements, small engine or small equipment replacement, I think for station number 1 and 2, a number of health and safety improvements, communication radios and pagers, wildland fire equipment, and thermal imaging cameras. Lastly, self-contained breathing apparatus, or the SCBA, a washer, which is going to be funded through a grant program. For the health services, the major project being proposed is a new roof at 170 Main Street. So this will be re-shingling and providing repairs to the current roof. The other projects here will be paving improvements to Mount Hope Cemetery and completing concrete stairs at 170 Main Street. So this is a good example. This is a project that was identified in 2025. You'll see it listed under 2025. This is an additional $6,000 that is needed to complete the project. For Parks and Recreation, so there's a good amount being allocated for facility improvements. So this includes refrigeration improvements at the arenas, additional rubber flooring at King Edward Park Arena, drainage improvements to Codrington Community Center, an application of asphalt to Cortland Way, Royal Gala Pathway, conceptual designs for a new splash pad. I think that's an interesting project there. Trying to be suffice and short on these slides, but I do want to highlight that I think the vision for that, and what we will see more information coming forward on this in the future, is to review and to assess what the splash pad is and what it could be, to have it more of a destination place for the community. It's the main community park, and what would that investment look like? And so maybe some conceptual drawings and some design and costing being put to that. And so that's what that project is. Tennis court resurfacing, soccer nets, play structure improvements and replacements throughout the township, some enhanced signage, park lighting improvements, which goes along with the mayor's objective as well. For the building and planning department, there's going to be new software which will handle building permits, and also Microsoft Project Plan software. There's some costs being allocated for the industrial park, and this is to enable future lots to be required to handle some of the challenges with wetlands and other drainage issues that are I'm sure other people could speak to if there's questions on. There are some plans and studies being proposed for building bylaw review, a building fee study to review are the fees that are being charged, industrial park engineering, the industrial park engineering is identified in the project above. The master servicing plan for wastewater and water. The official plan review and zoning bylaw updates, those are being completed together and are being funded partially from development charges. Lastly, streetscapes design for Elizabeth, Ontario Main Streets. Some of this design work is being proposed to be funded from ASE revenues. Coming up to one of our last slides here, but for public works, for surface treatment, there's a number of projects included here, which include Martin Road, Tillings Road, Donaldson Road, Cedardale Road, and Aranda Way. There's some major construction projects on Harbor Street, Forest Drive, and a number of geotechnical investigations, which are kind of the first steps required in order to move these ahead for the major reconstruction projects, whether it be 27 or 28. But this is the first step that needs to be completed in order to move those projects and those roads to a stage where they can be in a position for reconstruction. Some bigger pieces of equipment are being purchased just in terms of there's a communal tool carrier. I may just take a little breather here and let Director Lynn and Chip discuss this vehicle, because I do know it is replacing another vehicle, and I'm just need a drink of water.
Thank you, Paul, through the mayor. Yeah, the communal tool carrier is a piece of equipment we can attach many different type of attachments to enhance our roadside grass cutting program, as well as some new services. We're dealing with concerns from the public about grass and brush in ditches and behind guide rails, so it's hard to reach with a roadside grass cutter. So this unit has an additional attachment that can be purchased that's included in the budget price to perform those types of road maintenance activities. It also can, we can attach a snow blower that'll help us clean streets during the wintertime and remove snow, and multiple other types of grass cutting and roadside brushing attachments, forks and buckets that can perform multiple services. So it's one unit that we can purchase attachments for, and in the future even expand the use of those attachments to provide other services or enhance those services. And it'll replace the need for a roadside tractor with a roadside grass cutter attachment, but can do a lot more.
Thank you. Thank you for getting me through there. Under the vehicles, there are some truck replacements and additions in addition to a standing zero-turn lawnmower replacement, also a trailer addition. And that's where those vehicles are included there. There are some facility updates included at Sharp and Chatton Garage facilities, which includes concrete floors and the installation of a second electrical panel. Safety enhancements. This includes road safety and traffic calming measures, streetlight improvements, and guide rails. Sidewalk improvements on Loyalist Drive sidewalk from Prince Edward to 8 Loyalist Drive, Skeel Gate sidewalk from Ontario Street to Mills Road, and Prince Edward Street sidewalks. Lastly, on this slide, there are some wages our staff do complete and help with some of the projects that are being completed from a public works perspective. So this is a little bit of an accounting allocation to remove it from the operating budget, because we end up capitalizing some of their costs that they spend on some of these projects. There's also some engineering consulting work. This has been in the budget the last few years at this amount in terms of 200,000. And this is to allow for external engineering consultation services for a variety of projects, including upcoming roadworks that come up, and we need to have something looked at throughout the year. That project has, because it's been in there in the previous years, we've been able to fund that from reserves based on not fully utilizing previous amounts. Moving on to water and wastewater. There's wastewater infrastructure on Harbor Street from Wallace Street to Forest Drive. This is the laterals only. There's the water and wastewater infrastructure on Prince Edward Street. This is a county project, if I'm correct, and this is our share for the water and wastewater infrastructure. And then water distribution on Harbor Street from Wallace to Forest Drive. The last project is identification and the start of I believe it'll be looking at a 3-year project. It's to update the water meters on all the houses throughout the municipality. So I think the current meters, they rely on outdated technology, and it's a very time-consuming process to go around and to have to tap each water meter in the township. We've had some difficulty with previous contracts staffing this process. So I think that we'll see some efficiencies there. There's less failure as well with these new meters. But also I think this will lead to a service enhancement for residents, as we could do reads more frequently, whether it be monthly. There could also be potential for more monitoring on even a daily basis. I think we've all seen that on hydro, where you can look at things on a much more, there's a lot more data because it's all current and using modern technology. This slide is just to recognize some of our partners and appreciate them, that I think they're very good community stewards, and great partners for the township, and also help in delivering our services for the township or the municipality. Sorry, that's a habit.
There's a spare jar for that.
Thank you, council. And again, open to any questions today, following week, whenever they may come up. Feel free to reach out through an email, through a phone call, and I'll be sure to get you the answer the best I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Appreciate the presentation. Questions of clarification for the treasurer? It's moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor McCausland, that council receive the mayor's 2026 municipal budget for information. Is there any discussion? Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. Good presentation. Not going to slam you up for that. I like more pages. I need more pages. Anyway, one of my questions, no report on reserves or reserve funds as far as what's going in, what's going out. Will that be available at some time, Mr. Creamer?
Through your worship, to Councillor Rowley, yeah, definitely. That's just been one of those things it's been a crunch to get all this out the door, and one of those things that just didn't quite make it in time for the report. I hope to have that included for, if not next week's meeting, it'll be definitely at the council meeting where it's finally passed.
Thank you for that. A couple of other questions that I have, but for different directors. So I guess, are we to leave those until next week?
Are they questions of clarification?
Well, maybe.
Well, let's
I'll
try.
try to ask.
Let's
I'll
try.
try to ask one. I'll ask two, and they will both be, of course, to Director Lennon. The resurfacing, road resurfacing, that the number of streets that you chose, is that just based on budgetary dollars, or is that based on our roads needs study?
Director Lennon.
Through the mayor to Councillor Rowley, that's the roads selected for 2026 is based on the road needs study. The assessments that were done on those surface treated roads, plus staff inspections of those roads after the winter season, that's when they take the biggest hit. And so in some years, there'll be a large number of kilometers and others not so much. And 2026 just happens to be one of those years where the needs aren't high, but the roads that need the attention are in the budget.
May I ask one more?
I'm actually going to get him to expand on that a little bit, because Director Lennon and I had a conversation about this, because I also had this concern that you're noting. And Director Lennon, would you please expand on how we're increasing operational efficiencies on some of our, in particular, our rural back roads, and what we're doing from a snow plowing perspective, and just better traffic safety?
Absolutely, through you. Part of the process that we looked at as well for those roads, a lot of our roads in general are dead end roads. A lot of the rural roads certainly are. And we only have a few snowplow turnarounds at the end of those roads. So the hope is that we can build additional snowplow turnarounds on a lot of these narrower rural roads. So when we surface treat them, make the effort to widen the end of the road. So we're not turning around in driveways. It's risky from a driver's safety perspective, but also creates efficiencies on the route, not having to turn around back multiple point turnarounds as opposed to a circular turnaround. It also would help for snow storage and drainage on some of those roads. So that's one of the objectives. that we'd like to add to the program, and certainly hope to do in 2026.
With the clerk about our curfew. We're going to have a motion to extend the meeting, but I quipped that I could, no, it's 4 hours for, under the remuneration policy. It's 3 hours under our procedure bylaw for curfew still. So we probably need to deal with that, but not tonight. You have another question?
My other question, rolling stock. Once again, we usually get a report on the number of vehicles that we have and when or why they need to be replaced. Is it possible to see that at some point?
Director Lennon.
Through the mayor, I believe so. If you're looking for a complete fleet list, that can be provided in the spreadsheets that Director Creamer has provided in this presentation. It does include the units that we plan to replace. And then, as he mentioned in the presentation, there are 2 new hybrid SUV vehicles as well as in the budget.
And a new backhoe.
The backhoe is a replacement of existing.
Before you go on, I have a motion that council extend the meeting to its natural conclusion. Is there a mover? Councillor Rowley, second. Councillor Wheeldon, discussion, all in favor? Any opposed? The motion's carried. Carry on.
Thank you. One more question. The fact that we're getting many more EV units, are we having to add more electrical sticks, things? Chargers. That's a good word. That's a good word.
Just more hamster wheels. Director Lennon.
Through the mayor, fortunately, Manager Blatansky had the foresight and worked through management at the time to install a rather robust charging station at Sharp Road. And we do have EV units that we plug in, and we did order a EV pickup truck for supervisor in 2025 that has yet to arrive. But we do have the capacity to charge those vehicles and then some.
Thank you. Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you, Mayor. I was going to ask, what are we getting for new cars? I see they're just noted as hybrid SUVs, and I was curious about that. That's my first question, I guess.
Director.
Through the mayor, to Councillor Wheeldon, once budget's approved, we'll go to procurement and we'll issue a tender for the purchase of those vehicles. We'll set the specification, the cargo size, and the hybrid requirement. That will give us kind of a range in the type of SUVs, and then it'll depend on the low price.
Yeah, I was just curious if they're plug-in hybrid or because there's different kinds of hybrids.
Understood. Yeah, that's to be determined in our specification.
Okay.
We monitor the market, but it's undecided at this point.
Thank you, Director. I have 2 comments. One is that I appreciate the mayoral directives. Certainly nothing to complain about there and lots to like. With regard to the canopy, there are a few different funding sources right now for urban canopy projects, one through Green Municipal Fund, and I think Nature Canada might also have one. And I think that Lower Trent is trying to organize some kind of way for them to be a provider of tree planting services utilizing those kinds of funds and try and do so across the watershed. And so that might be a good partner for us in that regard, but I don't think we're going to end up paying much money for trees because there are a lot of people trying to give them away right now.
Let's hope not. Thank you. Any other questions of clarification? Go ahead, Councillor Rowley.
Thank you. Once again for Mr. Creamer. 5.1% is the tax increase for the municipality. I believe the county is holding at 5%. Did I read that correctly?
So this budget is 4.9%.
The blended rate is 4.9.
No, the Brighton's levy increase is 4.9%.
Okay,
5.1% was the operational increase.
okay, so I wrote it wrong. So,
I think the county is currently at 4.8,
okay, I
but
know you were trying to get to.
that could come down. So
Okay, so a blended rate could be still a bit less than,
it would be less than those two numbers because the provincial education rate has been held
again,
stable. We haven't heard whether it's been held stable for this year, but I don't anticipate that it will be increased.
okay, so as of right now, the message as far as the public goes is we're below 5% as far as a property tax increase.
Yes.
Correct?
As of today and
As of-
if both budgets were to pass, yes.
Right. Now, does that include the grants and aid without the extra 30,000?
The grants and aid, 1.5% from last year's levy is baked into this budget.
Right, okay. But we still have to figure that one out.
We just have to put the dominoes in place. Mrs. Ostrander and I will manage the shoes. Thank you. Mr. Kramer.
Through you, your worship, to Councillor Rowley, just some quick numbers here. With us at 4.9, the county at 4.8, we'd be looking at a blended rate of approximately 4.4.
Okay. Anyone else? Did I read the motion? Motion, I did? I thought I did too. I'm going to read it again for fun. It's moved by Councillor Wheeldon, second by Councillor McCausland, that council receive the mayor's 2026 municipal budget for information. Any further discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. Members of council, I'm conscious of the time and that decisions are poorly made after a little bit of time. Are we willing to continue on? Do we want to move some of the items out for another? Yeah, but then we get into minutes and then we get into. Do you want to pile through? Okay. The next report comes from Public Works. It's going to be a bit different than the one we thought we were going to get. We'll get a more robust report at another council meeting. But Director Linden, would you please give us a little update on school zone signage for Elizabeth Street, etc.?
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. Yeah, apologies to council that the report is not in the agenda. The agenda item does read basically what the report was recommending. It's just an information report to summarize what has been happening with the province's repeal of the ASE program and the promise to provide funding for school zone signage, as well as additional funding that has been included in the budget. The province did provide oversized school zone signage, but on Elizabeth Street, where they were intended to go, they are large, would be really to be off the roadway. They'd be overhanging the sidewalk, which is some real safety issues. So we're in contact with the Ministry of Transportation to look at alternate signage. And as the municipality doesn't have a school zone bylaw, the recommendation was to create one, as well as a policy to create community safety zones to make that happen while we're kind of talking about it. We do have a community safety zones within the municipality, but we don't have a policy to govern and plan how we implement those in other locations. So that was the intent, to get a recommendation to council for both of those, but I'll bring a more detailed report. I'll bring the actual report at a future meeting.
A motion that council receive the verbal update on school zone signage and school zone and community safety zone policies. Councillor Wright, Councillor Wheeldon, any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. Next report is the 2026 to 2030 multi-year accessibility plan. Deputy Clerk, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, just a few things. There's not a lot of changes within the multi-year accessibility plan. It's specifically worded that it just really highlights our goals, and our goals haven't changed, and that's to continue moving the needle towards accessibility. And the biggest change is the accomplishments section. During the 2021 to 2025 multi-year accessibility plan, the accomplishments section grew probably by 3 length. It's increased huge. So it just shows that we're doing the work. We're getting there. It's not, we would like to fix everything overnight, but that's not realistic. But we're doing the work. We're trying to get there. And we're doing everything we can. One suggestion that did come forward that I intend to make one small change to the multi-year accessibility plan prior to publishing it for the public is just some, like a little bit more detail about the sidewalks and the pathways. So thank you to Director Lennon and his team for compiling some of this information for me. And I'll just kind of mention a few so that you're aware of the changes I'll be making. There's a pathway that connects the new sidewalk on Wallace Street to Wallace Park, and a new pedestrian crossover on Raglan Street. There is a new pedestrian crossover being constructed on Raglan Street. My understanding is that will be done by the end of the year. There's more coming, but you've been kind enough to provide some stuff for 2026, but we'll put that on the list for next year. There's new sidewalks on Wallace Street and new sidewalk reconstruction on Prince Edward Street and County Road 64. That's being completed now and a little bit into 2026. Additionally, there have been sidewalk improvements on Division Street and 3 sidewalk panels at Division Street and Main Street with wheelchair access, which is the depressed concrete for access. So those changes will be made prior to me putting the plan on the website and available for the public.
Thank you, Deputy Clerk. The list of accomplishments is impressive. So thank you for noting those, and thank you to staff for making a lot of them happen. The motion is moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that Council adopt the 2026-2030 multi-year accessibility plan as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. Next report is with regard to physician and nurse practitioner incentive programs, CAO. We've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
No, Mr. Mayor, not at this time.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wright, that Council eliminate the current physician recruitment incentive program representing $20,000 per year for 5 years for a total of $100,000, and that Council maintain the nurse practitioner incentive program at $5,000 per year for 3 years for a total of $15,000, and that Council direct staff to work with the 2 physicians at 170 Main Street to offer up to $10,000 per year in reduced rent charges in exchange for a 5-year commitment. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. Next report is the CAO ongoing report and capital projects updates. CAO, do you have anything to add or highlight?
No, Mr. Mayor, not at this time.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that Council receive the CAO ongoing report and capital projects update. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. That brings us to notices of motion and motions. This was a notice of motion as it appeared on the agenda, but at our altering of the agenda, it has been brought forward as a motion. It's moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon. Whereas Ontario's conservation authorities were created to protect people, property, farmland, and ecosystems through watershed-based decision-making informed by local science, local knowledge, and municipal representation. And whereas Bill 68, Plan to Protect Ontario Act 2025 would establish the Ontario Provincial Conservation Agency, a provincially appointed body empowered to oversee and direct all conservation authorities, issue binding directions exempt from normal public input regulations and centralized decisions about budgeting, asset management, permitting, and operations. And whereas the province has proposed reorganizing Ontario's 36 conservation authorities into 7 regional bodies, with most authorities being amalgamated, while the Toronto and Region Conservation Authority remains a standalone regional authority, creating a 2-tier system that preserves full local oversight for Toronto while reducing it for smaller and rural municipalities. And whereas this restructuring shifts real authority away from locally accountable boards and councils and towards a centralized provincial agency, weakening watershed-based planning, diminishing local democratic input, and increasing the risk that conservation lands and hazard lands will be treated primarily as development assets. And whereas Bill 68 also introduces new limits on civil proceedings that include Schedule 18, demonstrating that land held for conservation or recreation can be reclassified by statute, raising concern about similar changes elsewhere. Now therefore be it resolved that Council of the Municipality of Brighton strongly opposes Bill 68, including Schedule 3 and Schedule 18, as a significant erosion of local democracy and environmental protection. Be it further resolved that Council calls on the Government of Ontario to withdraw Schedule 3 and Schedule 18 from Bill 68 and halt the proposed amalgamation of conservation authorities. Conduct full open consultation with municipalities, Indigenous communities, conservation authorities, agricultural partners, environmental organizations, and the public prior to any restructuring. Maintain strong local representation and decision-making authority on conservation authority boards. Ensure conservation lands and hazard lands are not treated as discretionary development assets. And reinforce the independent science-based mandate of conservation authorities to protect watershed and regulate development in hazard lands. And be it further resolved that this resolution be circulated to the Premier of Ontario, the Minister of the Environment, Conservation and Parks, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, all Ontario MPPs, AMO, Conservation Ontario, all affected conservation authorities, and all Ontario municipalities with a request for support. Is there any discussion? Councillor Wright.
First of all, I just want to comment that we need to make just 2 small changes to the motion. Just to scratch the word farmland from the first sentence and add the Minister of Natural Resources, and Councillor Wheeldon has already agreed to this. It's been a very interesting conversation around the board table at Lower Trent Conservation with the surprise that this amalgamation issue has brought forth, especially in light of the fact that just prior to this announcement, all authorities, conservation authorities, were required to list all of their conservation assets and list them as whether or not they were developable or non-developable. Given what we're seeing on Wasaga Beach, given what we've seen in history, it's very concerning to me that this could be just a little step forward to possibly looking at some of our conservation lands that we love and enjoy as the public do, and turn around and make them into developments. So a loss of natural habitat and places where we as nature lovers like to walk and roam, protected spaces. It's very interesting that out of all the amalgamations, the Toronto Conservation Authority remains the same. There's some very telling features in this program that we just need to be very careful about. So that is kind of what spurred me on to create this motion. I really feel like it's a further erosion of democracy. Toronto maintains their current status quo, while all of us in the rural areas will have our watersheds managed by larger boards where we may or may not have a seat at the table. It's very troubling. So.
Thank you. Councillor Wilde.
Thank you, Mayor. To expand on that a little bit, the proposal for 7 conservation authorities, basically out of the 36 that currently exist. Currently, Lower Trent has seven municipalities that make up the Lower Trent watershed. The proposed new East Lake Ontario region would have about 60 municipalities in it. And so the idea that there would be a conservation authority board with 60 representatives is a little bit unlikely. So it's much more likely that we would lose that representation, just to make that clear. But there are still so many things that are not clear. As is often the case, the announcement comes before the legislation, and then the legislation comes long before the regulations that would actually implement anything. And so a lot of this is still very nebulous. But what is very clear is the part where they say, and the minister gets additional power to decide what's going to happen at any given time. And so there is a strong element of not just whiffs of amalgamation that are very similar to what we're hearing about school boards and very reminiscent of 25 years ago, but also what we've come to expect of adding more ministerial oversight and control and appointment ability and things like that. So it definitely undermines our local democracy. But the other part of it is that with all of this uncertainty, staff are very nervous, to say the least. It's very likely that some of our best staff will not have positions moving forward. As amalgamation happens, but also the uncertainty of what's going to happen 8 to 10 months from now when we're trying to pass a budget. I've already heard from people from other municipalities in our watershed saying, well, so why should we budget anything for the Conservation Authority? It's probably not going to be there this time next year. Well, we still have a job to do in the meantime, but will we have any staff left? I don't know. So this is very much cart before the horse. Another great example of how talking to conservation authorities and municipalities in advance of announcing legislation would have been really helpful. And a good reason for us to stand up and say, can we put the brakes on a little bit?
Thank you for that. Anyone else? I would note that, you know, before we pass a motion like this, we should probably pass a motion directing staff to submit comments through the environmental registry, because the province has opened up that consultation piece for this purpose. And so before we start, you know, pushing back at our provincial friends, we should probably engage in that consultation piece. Go ahead.
I mentioned that at the Lower Trent board as well, and we had a conversation about that. And so we are conscious of it, and we do want to recommend that all of us as individuals and our staff do submit that. I have been watching the ERO for longer than I've sat at this table, and I don't know that I've ever seen comments submitted there, no matter who from or how many, actually result in a change under this government. And I understand that, yes, that is the formal process for registering these concerns. I'm not hopeful that it will change anyone's mind.
Very well. Anyone else? All those in, go ahead.
Sorry, you know, just also thinking, I mean, all of this may be a moot point anyways. We've also just watched, despite the clamor to defend the ASC program, fall on deaf ears. But I think if we don't say anything, if we don't highlight what the risks are with this program, it just may further fall on deaf ears.
Thank you. So as the mover and seconder, you want farmland stricken from the first sentence? And you want, and the Minister of Natural Resources added to the final paragraph?
Thank you.
I have done those two things. Any further discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. We have nothing listed under unfinished business. We have no bylaws to consider this evening. That brings us to reports of advisory committees of council and review teams. The first committee meeting minutes, or the committee meeting minutes we're looking at in 14.1 are the Homelessness Task Force, Rural Advisory Committee, and Recreation Facility Advisory Committee. Councilors McCausland and Wielden, anything to report from September with regard to the Homelessness Task Force? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Very briefly, we had a good meeting and talked about the upcoming report that we will be bringing to council. I'm halfway written it, and that'll come to the next task force meeting, December 9th. Since then, I have been interviewed by Robert Washburn for Consider This Northumberland and gotten quite a few notes from people who work in the sector praising Brighton's initiative on this. And so it's good to hear that feedback from people who are doing street level work. We have now secured a date and location, thanks in part to you, sir, for a public training on homelessness response. It's going to be December 11th at Trinity St. Andrews United Church, 2:30 to 4 o'clock. It's an opportunity for anybody who particularly people who work with people who are experiencing homelessness or interface with them on a regular basis, or even just people who are curious, are looking for ways to help, or have concerns that they want to learn more. It really is open to everyone. The training is going to be put on by County Social Services staff who are going to teach us about what they do and all of the different services that are available for people who are experiencing homelessness, and also provide that Q&A time so that people can understand better their role as members of this community in serving their neighbors.
Sorry, could you repeat that, the date and time?
December 11th, 2:30 p.m. at Trinity St. Andrews United Church.
Thank you. Rural Advisory Committee, Councillor McCausland, nothing. Recreation Facility Advisory Committee, Councillor Rowley.
No, nothing to report. We've had a couple of really good meetings, very engaged group. Everything's positive there. Thank you.
Brilliant. A motion moved by Councillor Wielden, seconded by Councillor McCausland, that Council receive the following committee meeting minutes as presented. Homelessness Task Force, September 15th, 2025. Rural Advisory Committee, September 18th, 2025. Recreation Facility Advisory Committee, May 5th and September 9th, 2025. Is there any discussion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. Brings us to a recommendation from the Homelessness Task Force. It's moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Wielden. The council support the recommendation regarding training for frontline staff regarding providing information and handling concerns related to homelessness within the municipality. And that council direct the chief administrative officer to coordinate with the county to provide training for frontline staff on how to provide correct and helpful information to individuals experiencing homelessness, and how to appropriately respond to inquiries and concerns from community members regarding homelessness within the municipality. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. Brings us to reports and minutes of statutory committees, boards, and external agencies. The first comes from the Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board. It's moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson. The council received the Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board 6-month report as information. Is there any discussion? Councillor Rowley.
Thank you. This is a very mover and shaker kind of committee that we sit on, and certainly Brighton leverages much support, not only monetarily, but a whole lot of support from this group. And this is just like an update as to what's going on, but certainly everything positive from this group. Couldn't be happier that we have partnered with them.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. And the Brighton and District Curling Club Board Director Meeting Minutes, September 29th, 2025, moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that Council receive the September 29th, 2025 Brighton and District Curling Club Board of Directors Meeting Minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. That brings us to correspondence, direction items, endorsements, communications, and petitions. The first is with regard to Cup W and Canada Post mandate review. It's moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Rowley. Whereas the federal government has announced a mandate review of Canada Post Corporation, and whereas the Canadian Union of Postal Workers has raised concerns about the timing and scope of this review, and whereas Canada Post is currently undergoing operational challenges, including implementation of a stamp price increase and fluctuating parcel volumes, whereas it is essential that any mandate review be informed by stable operational data and meaningful public input from municipalities and other stakeholders. Now therefore be it resolved that the municipality of Brighton formally writes to the Honourable Minister Joel Lightbound, Federal Minister of Government Transformation, Public Works and Procurement, to demand that no mandate review of Canada Post take place until Canada Post returns to stabilized operations, the full impact of the recent stamp price increases realized, parcel volumes reflect sectoral demand. 2, emphasize the importance of municipal input in the mandate review process, particularly on the following key issues: maintaining Canada Post as a public service, preserving the moratorium on the post office closures, improving the Canada Postal Service Charter, ensuring continued home mail delivery and daily delivery service, enhanced parcel delivery services, expanding postal banking, supporting environmental sustainability, including the deployment of electric vehicle charging stations, exploring food delivery services, improving delivery in rural, remote, and Indigenous communities, developing services to assist people with disabilities and help other Canadians remain in their homes, support good unionized jobs, and ensuring Canada Post remains financially self-sustained, and request that any review of Canada Post and the Canada Postal Service Charter be conducted through a full, thorough, and transparent public process, including public hearings with key stakeholders in every region of Canada. And be it further resolved that the municipality of Brighton will make a written submission and/or participate in public hearings to provide input into the upcoming mandate review of Canada Post. Be it further resolved, this resolution be submitted to the Honourable Joel Lightbound, Federal Minister of Government Transformation, Public Works and Procurement, the House of Commons, MP Phil Lawrence. Is there any discussion? Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you, Mayor. I do think that Canada Post needs to change in many different respects. And I appreciate that there are a lot of things listed here that are changes in addition to things that they would like to say the same. Ultimately, I'm glad to have municipalities recognized as a key stakeholder in Canada Post and the way that it operates. We are in many ways dependent on their services. But most of all, what I think this is about is that the way that the government or the way that Canada Post has negotiated with its unions has involved governments stepping in to reduce union power. And this is them asking for other governments to step in to level that playing field and ask Canada Post to come back to the table in a good faith manner that recognizes the importance of stakeholders like us. And so because we are stakeholders and because I think that those negotiations need to be done in good faith and in an open and transparent manner, I do support this.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'm a little concerned with some of the wording here and what it's asking us to do as a municipality. Demand that no mandate review of Canada Post take place until 123. I think a mandate has to take place regardless of whether the union's ready for it or the management's ready for it. And that we can't just wait for stabilized environment in Canada Post. It's never going to happen. So I think, I could support this if we remove that whole paragraph number 1. Maintain as a public service, fine. ensuring continued home delivery and daily delivery service. I can tell you, if it went down to 2 days a week, I wouldn't miss a piece of mail. I wouldn't miss a piece of mail. So I'm not sure I care to support that. I think in driving efficiency, helping to drive efficiencies for Canada Post, I don't want to be seen as the barrier to that. If we can, if the answer is we get to keep our post office if the Ostranders only get mail once a week, I'm okay with that. Right? We don't have a banking system in the post office, and yet it asks us to expand the postal banking service. To what end? I don't understand. I mean, unless, there are significant issues in postal banking that we need to explore in Brighton, but I don't see that. And so I come at this, maybe these are good ideas nationally, but I come at this as from a, municipal specific point of view. We've got two banks here in Brighton. We're not lacking competition, and I don't really see a need for a federally government-owned bank in the municipality. So I think there are a number of things here that I would like to see us review. I like the idea that we be involved in any review, any mandate review, that the municipal level should be asked that question. So I'm wondering if we can set this aside, redraft it, and maybe come back with some wording that makes a little more sense from a Brighton specific point of view. I get that this is just a cut and paste from the union, and I appreciate where they're coming from. I understand that they have a role to play and that they have concerns. I would too if I worked there, but if we're going to pass this at the municipal level, let's make it Brighton focused. Is that fair?
Very fair. Thank
Yeah.
you, Mayor.
So with that, could I simply ask that I'm not sure where would we refer this? Go ahead.
We could draft our own motion. We could defeat this now and draft our own motion another time. I'd happily bring a notice of motion if that is preferable.
Councillor Wright and Rowley, would you withdraw the motion? Okay, and we have Councillor Wheeldon's commitment to maybe work with other members of council to bring a motion that makes sense for us here in Brighton.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And the Town of Whitby resolution is moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that council receive or support the Town of Whitby resolution regarding extended producer responsibility for blue box recycling collection and impacts to small businesses located in mixed use properties. I'm sure we want to support this. I will say that the County of Northumberland is stepping into this space to make sure that local businesses are continuing to be collected, and the province has been pretty clear that it has no interest in advocating any further on this issue. So just piece of information. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. Grand Northumberland, it's moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor McCausland, that council support the proclamation from Grand Northumberland 16 days from November 25th to December 10th as Orange Days End Violence Against Women and Girls, and to fasten orange bows around municipal property. Whereas the United Nations Unite campaign to end violence against women raises awareness and calls for action during the 16 days using the color orange as a uniting theme. And whereas the measures introduced to curb the COVID-19 pandemic have contributed to an alarming increase in the already existing pandemic of violence against women. And whereas the municipality of Brighton acknowledges that the Grandmothers Advocacy Network, a Canadian organization that advocates for the human rights of grandmothers and vulnerable children in sub-Saharan Africa who experience violence in their daily lives. And whereas violence against women and girls is pervasive around the world, including Canada. And whereas by creating worldwide awareness and calling for adequate sustained resources, we will find solutions to end gender-based violence. Now therefore be it resolved, now therefore Council of the Municipality of Brighton does hereby proclaim the 16 days, November to December, 16 days, November 25th. November 25th to December 10th, 2025, as Orange Days End Violence Against Women and Girls in Brighton. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Are there any opposed? Motion is carried. And there's no FYI correspondence. That brings us to question period. Does anyone in the gallery have a question with anything that appeared on tonight's agenda? Deputy Clerk, is there anyone on Zoom for that purpose? Thank you. We have no closed session. Brings us to our confirmatory bylaw. It's moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that council gives a bylaw its first, second, and third reading and finally passes on this date, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Corporation of the Municipality of Brighton Council meeting held on November 17th, 2025. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. And it's moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that the November 17th, 2025 meeting adjourn at 10:15 p.m. Is there any discussion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. We are indeed strong and free. May God save the King.